Get yourself.
Just attendees, yeah.
You need to come.
The city, but I should, guys, no, record it. You guys should be good to go.
This is considered a special meeting because we had to reschedule.
Yeah, because we had to make it from yesterday to today. Oh, sorry, doesn't make any sense. Tomorrow to
Yeah.
today.
It says it doesn't work for me.
Nicole, would
It
you
didn't
do
work
me a
when I did
favor?
that, but then I
Yeah.
just
Would
opened
you
up
just sit
the
over
web
here
page.
if
I
anyone
just
needs
opened
to
Chrome
come in
and
last
then-
I
minute?
didn't bring you that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been logged in that far.
Yeah, it asks me everything.
Yeah.
Let's open a new tab and maybe it goes to. Or maybe you're already in.
Sorry. No,
There's that history.
all right, so we're streaming all the things, so I'm gonna record whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right, Google, let's see. I'm already working on it.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. And guess we'll start off with public comment. Public comment will pertain only to the agenda items, a maximum of 3 minutes unless if there anybody online. I don't see anybody here. Okay, and I'm assuming, let's see if there's anybody online who wants to,
There was only one person that joined.
okay? Anybody? All right, so if there's no public comment, I'd like to make a motion that we move to the approval of the last month's meeting.
Yeah. Do have them if anybody wants to look, but thanks to them. I looked through, I don't see anything, so I move that we approve them as is.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, so the minutes from last month's meeting are approved. All right.
Hmm.
So moving forward, I'd like to open it up for discussion as to how the open house went. So any,
I don't know if we have like final numbers on who went. I could say that I know that Emily, Pat and I went, Jen went, and we brought our kid, like our kids. And I have to tell you, it was really nice. Like the kids were smiling, happy. The place looks amazing. Like the renovations and stuff that have been done. The work that Nicole, and Mike, put into it. The kids seemed really excited to be just in there. And it was nice as a parent, parents to come in there and see it.
There was a
28 participants.
But okay,
28.
nice.
it was a good turnout.
That's like
Yeah.
the adults.
Families.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the kids did not want to leave, let's put it that way.
They did
right?
not.
Yeah.
No, that-
Yeah.
Difficulty bringing the children home, but it was
Yeah.
well received. Well received.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think a
Nicole-
lot of questions about before and after care, which we'll get to like later on, but parents had some questions on that. But
Okay, yeah, and Nicole, just shout out to you. Excellent job.
Mhm.
That was fantastic in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed the turnaround
Yeah.
from what we saw it like, what was it, a month ago with
Right.
that? And it was just, looked incredible,
Right.
so.
And I commend Nicole for having the summer camp policies and procedures available for the parents. They were very happy to see that, so
yeah.
very pleased with that, so.
And
Thank you,
some of
Nicole,
the-
for the effort.
I liked that some of the information about staff training was in the wall
Mhm.
too. It was useful
Mhm.
to look at.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
just, in general, it was kind of open to everybody to see what it was gonna be, so that was really good.
We're sending, I think, 8 counselors that we hired to the camp college over at Southern on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Very, very good.
Do we have a total, how many campers so far?
40,
Excellent.
Okay,
And that's per week.
it varies per week,
Okay.
so.
so to 40, okay, very good.
And I think registration closes at the end of June.
June 23rd.
Yeah, so you still have great, excellent.
All right, very
Mhm.
good. Yeah,
I
that
think it
was-
might be late this year though, because a lot of people were talking and shared with me that it was late
Yeah.
coming out. So people had to make like decisions already.
Mhm.
But like I said, a lot of people that I have talked to in town have said that definitely looking forward to, before, aftercare, whatever it's gonna be, so. Um,
Yeah,
I think a slow start is good for it right now,
Mhm.
you
I
know,
was hoping
I
to get
agree.
50.
you might still too,
oh, I
you
think,
know.
I still think you.
I know I have, listen, I know I haven't signed up yet, because I'm still trying to find out how to figure out other camps that my son has, so I think that that's probably what some people are trying to like work out too. That
Mhm.
piece of things like, because of the deposit, which I think is a good thing. But I do think that makes people like have to really, you need to lock in what your weeks are gonna be.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, there were a few other things, like the school, I know they had like some STEM camp.
yeah.
Cause,
Mhm.
Right.
cause my son's gonna do that, but then come to camp
Yeah.
afterwards, cause it's only, I
Yeah.
think, 3 hours a day, so.
Yeah.
It was like the morning thing, so I know
Yeah.
there were some other programs
Yeah.
out there too.
Yeah,
And wasn't that was like a lottery that they haven't even necessarily told everybody if they got into it, right? The STEM,
That's a good question.
because I think they just sent out an email saying these are these 2 STEM weeks that we're doing, and if you're interested, fill out this form. But if I read it right,
Oh, you
we
might
have
be
to
right, 'cause
wait,
I haven't
'cause
heard
I
anything, so.
signed my kid up for one of them. And
Okay.
we're just waiting to hear.
So I think I'm in the same boat then. I haven't actually heard anything, so.
And then several kids that are in summer school,
Mhm.
the parents are reaching out now saying, hey, can we just come a few days instead of.
Right.
So we're accepting.
Yeah.
That was a thing that they did
Yeah.
for years. Well, one summer it was suddenly they said it was a grant program that kids who were in ESY, the
Right.
extended school year, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday could come to Parks and Rec camp afterwards for free. I don't know where that grant funding was.
I think
or
that
what
was
it
COVID funding,
But
because there
then
was
the next
COVID.
year they said, oh, we're doing
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, because there was COVID, there was a lot of COVID funding,
Yeah,
a lot
Yeah.
budgeted in,
specifically, but they did.
yeah,
They did do that.
yeah, so they, for summer programming, like specifically be used towards.
Yes, I'm sure there's still gonna be some late stragglers, but
Mm.
that was good. So Nicole, from us, is there anything else you need for summer camp that we need to kind of be
Mhm.
aware of?
Mm.
Anything you need our assistance in?
The only thing, well, I don't know if I necessarily need assistance, but I am working on the employee packet right now
Mhm.
for them. I'm also setting up CPR first aid training. I'm gonna meet with the fire marshal.
Is Brent does,
Brent,
yeah.
and then Dave, I don't know what you call him, the chief of police here.
Oh, Dave
Marion.
Marion, yeah, resident.
We're gonna go over to the building, kind of see how we could work drop off and pick up differently. And go over all the emergency procedures, so I can have that all in the handbook, so that
Okay.
when we have our training. We can go over all that with that.
Okay. Excellent.
Is that drop off and pick up here? Are we going to Veterans Park at all?
Right now we have it scheduled 3 days this summer to go. We're not sure if we're gonna expand that or not. I'm still
Okay.
waiting for a few things to be done at Veterans Park
Okay.
to see if.
So it's not gonna be every Friday at Veterans Park?
Right now, no.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I
good.
think that's it.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Work with
idea.
that, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, no, I do too. I just
Keep it
wasn't
easy
sure.
and try 3 days, see how that works
Yeah.
out.
Like, we'll do special events over there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's good, yeah.
Definitely
And
makes sense.
that's
And-
another thing we're working on, just planning special activities. So if you
Yeah.
guys know of activities you might do.
Mhm.
At home or at work that would work for us, we
Mhm.
appreciate that too.
Okay.
I know but I'm not sure if it was just part of the volunteer fire department, but they would come
Yeah.
a couple times this summer and spray everybody and they
Yeah, I
ran.
love that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we're
That's
definitely
something.
gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Probably bring in some water slides, we have a
Mhm.
magician coming and
Nice.
the boom
I was
guy.
gonna say, isn't there a balloon guy too?
Yeah,
I think they
Yeah.
did in years past too.
we're pretty much set right now for staff.
Okay.
May
Good.
hire 1 or 2 like subs,
Good.
so
Did you find someone for that week that we were light?
not yet.
Okay,
But and Mike and I have to sit down and look at the schedules.
okay.
We have all the closets pretty much organized, they're like 90%, I wanna show you guys after this.
Yeah, no, we'll take a look over there.
Absolutely,
That sounds good.
yeah. Yes, it sounds like, it's not.
How many
Right?
staff do you have?
Right?
Right now, we have 8. We'll probably hire 1 or 2 like subs.
Okay.
It was nice to see some of the potential like staff too at the open house.
Right.
that they really seemed eager and
Yeah.
happy to be there. It was really nice, you know, engaging with like the kids that were in there too, so.
Yeah, we have a lot of applicants and feel bad because obviously we're not gonna be able to hire all of
Right.
them.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Hopefully we could get some production.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we also did the CIT program and the
Okay.
junior CIT
Okay.
program, so we have all those applicants, we're gonna be interviewing them this week, because the parents need to know, obviously.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
I'll interview them this week and see what happens then.
Wonderful. In general, I mean, I know we're talking about summer camp, but is everything else going smooth for you? Is there anything where you need anything else, even if it's not summer camp related, where like, hey, we kind of need to act on this or
Well,
that?
I think
anything
I
interesting?
really have to start putting together the after school program, so I wanna get that like online soon to register.
should we
because-
hold on, should we end the agenda item for summer camp and then go into what's next? I
Yeah,
wanna make sure we, like, cause I know that's on there.
So we're on summer camp, so possible action, policies and procedures. We're gonna go over the report, from Pullman. And then discussion pops up, Park and Commission members.
Isn't there, like, before, like, do we wanna move,
Discussion.
do we wanna move number 9?
Before and after camp number 9, yes,
Yeah.
you're right, so I'm sorry, that was.
Yeah, sorry. Do you wanna
Yeah.
make like a motion to move number 9 up?
Yeah, so we can discuss that now.
Discuss
Makes
that
sense.
now,
Let's
seeing
get
we're
that.
kind of like segueing into it.
Because it kind of all adds in there, so yeah, I'll
I'll
make a
make-
motion that we move number 9. Which is discussion, possible action item for the before and after care program. To
I know, it's on,
That's the
it's on,
wrong
the-
agenda.
no, you have it,
number 6.
Number 9. Do I have something on?
I know, I
It
don't,
says 9 agenda.
I know, because I saw that one too, yeah, that said the
No,
before and after.
That's so weird.
I know,
why, is this a different one?
is that the one that's posted?
Yeah, she sent in the mail.
Email.
No, because I know I saw,
Because this was the special meeting, the
Yeah.
27th.
yeah, I think that's what's posted on the, hold on, I get which one's posted on.
Yeah, that's follow whatever's. supposed-
Oh, yeah, wherever's actually
Yeah.
on the.
I think that one might be, because I think I think that's the one that's posted online, the one you have, Dave, because I think that's the one,
Okay.
the
This-
one I looked at today, just to check what our agenda was.
This has the Zoom thing on there, so I think that I got this, I believe, from online.
We have to go through 20 steps to get to the agenda.
Yeah, I know. No, I take that back. This was the Google Doc. I take that back. This was the Google Doc, so.
Yeah, no, it's on here, number 9, it's the
Okay.
possible discussion of possible action before and after care, so so it's just number 9. No, yeah, I don't,
So number,
1 through 10?
yeah, 1 through 10 is on here.
I have 1 through 10. 10 is adjournment
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, 10 is a German on here too.
So
Okay,
I think that's the official. So let's move item number 9
The initial, maybe,
to item number 6.
Yeah.
That way it's kind of in line with what we can
Yeah.
segue through.
Yeah.
So that'll be my motion. Can I get a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Any opposed or all in favor?
Oh, you
I,
wanna let Emily's husband?
All right, so the motion carries. So we
We
would
should
move.
dinged or something. when
We
people-
might get kicked out.
No, is he on there
Yeah,
too?
he's in
he's
there,
there,
he's in there.
he's there, and
See?
then,
M sent on it, right?
I'm still here.
Or just hit,
I don't know if you can hear me.
up
yep,
top,
hi.
waiting room, admit, right there, yeah,
So, too, isn't
he's there. No, he's at Mike's in,
it? Okay.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
here, yeah.
Loud and clear, Mike.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so now let's go on to talking about before and after. Here,
Nicole, to your left, I did initially in January, some research on after school programs. And that's what I found, and it cites where I obtained the material from, and I do have, you'll see copies of the PDFs and forms. If you need those hard copies, if you would like to see them, I could send them to you, but those are just what I researched back in January to see.
Yeah, weren't there like 40, that's what I did too, right, 40 towns or something like that
Something
that
like
do
that,
it,
yeah,
that have stuff in place?
yeah,
Yeah, if you can send me those.
Like Wilton has
it's
theirs,
handbooks and
posted.
things of that.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
those organizations. Mhm.
so what are we thinking as far as that?
Before and after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we're gonna have it, and right now I'm working with the school to try to get a grant to hopefully subsidize some of the fees.
Mhm,
Obviously, we won't know till July or
mhm,
August
Yeah.
about that.
yep,
Um, I'm not sure what we're gonna do as far as fees. I'm gonna meet with Leslie this week to see what we're gonna charge.
uh-huh,
And obviously, based on summer staff that's on there, hopefully we'll keep some of that staff on for the fall.
yeah,
You know how we broke up down the rooms. So we wanna do the 4 rooms, obviously we have outside food for the kids, so we have plenty of activities for them to do. I know there is already a handbook made for after school, so I have to review that and see if that needs to be updated.
I'm sure it does.
yeah.
I wasn't aware that there was an after-school handbook.
Yeah, there was one created, Jen and Nick did it, before it started this year, so anyone that was participated in it, there was a handbook, it was kind of like the summer camp one. I don't know how in-depth it was too, you know, I do think we probably have to get a little beefier with some of our policies and procedures,
Mhm.
Yeah.
obviously, so. But again, we did have several Parks and Rec programs that were like, just take it from, you know, look through it and take our stuff. Instead of like continuing to reinvent the wheel, we got, you know, a lot of and then that's what we also have, that Parks and Rec and Park.
Rec and Park.
Rec and Park,
You know, Connecticut
group
Rec. and
that, you know, that we're into,
Recreation.
but I know, you know, Cheshire. She had offered to volunteer in any way or shape or form, as well as Woodbridge offered to do whatever they could. They have a school that their school runs their programs.
So I know we'll be trying to do the mornings,
Mhm.
7,
Mhm,
the 8, was it 7 to 8:30, whenever they go
Mhm.
in, and then the after school will be the normal times.
okay.
I think I have 2 questions. So one of the things that I personally loved, and I know a lot of other parents loved, was that the baking activity, the yoga, all these little activities were offered through Parks and Rec or any extracurricular, like Girl Scouts was at the school. And then my kid could go just that one day a week
Mhm.
Yeah,
to Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that flexibility is still
We will
possible,
definitely have the flexibility.
because I feel like you can
Yeah.
then offer a lot more
Yeah.
activities and working parents can.
Would it be though that so this is a good question or something to think about, would it be if we're looking at limitations to size, like if it comes back, are we looking at full-time the full-time people get first, and
Yes.
then, you know, 4 days, 3 days, 2 days? I'm just like thinking, I don't know that we'll meet a capacity, but I know Don had said that like the numbers are actually smaller in there than what we had thought, than what we had initially budgeted for with the size of the annex and stuff. I don't know.
Well, I think too.
I mean, I don't know, we're not there yet, but
I think originally too, they were gonna put those offices in that 4th room.
yeah,
Which we're not gonna do.
yeah,
So we have more room.
Yeah.
For the kids.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that has to.
Yeah.
So I think there was
Yeah.
75 kids.
Yeah, because I think we were talking when we budgeted, it was like we were looking at like if there was 100, and then Don was like, I wanted like the town meetings, he's like, oh, it's actually really only 75, and then we were like, okay, if it grows to be big, can we partner with the school? You know, can we put a group in the gym here, like
We
how
also
to,
have
how
the
stuff work?
room downstairs too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so, yeah, it's just one of his things that he came at, so I'm like, oh, that's another thing to just clarify
Mhm.
numbers wise.
And then numbers wise, I know we had talked when we were doing the budgeting. That we weren't gonna be able to do, we would have to do a full week, so, you know, that was how we kind of planned
Right,
it.
I
Are you
remember
saying you think we could get away with not doing it? Cause I mean, again, I'd rather have the convenience for the parents too, but I just know we had figured,
Yeah.
we had talked about that as a
Yeah.
group, where we're
I
like, hey,
think-
that'd be too hard logistically.
I think at first it was the craziness of how it was
Yeah.
done in the
Yeah, put it
past.
together for
I
sure.
will say this year, I mean, scheduling, like staff scheduling, but this year, it was a little bit of like this past year in September when we had aftercare and before care, it was nice to go in and like you picked you had to pick your days like at least 2 weeks ahead to have like your spot. But it did also get like, okay, which date, like I got to a point where I was like, which weeks did I sign up for?
Yeah.
Which days did I sign up? And like, you know, how is it? But I do think if we could find a way to like make it where you have, like, and maybe it is, like, maybe it's like you have to sign up, like, for the, for the month on the dates, like, that you have,
Kinda
like, if you
do-
sign up,
Yeah.
you have to attend them or whatever, I don't know.
I think we would probably set it up 5, 3, and 2, but I think if
Yeah.
there's a parent that needs it, like one
Yeah.
day, like what I'm doing with camp, if someone just
Yeah.
needs 2 days a week,
Yeah,
I set it up behind the scenes so
Yeah.
no one could see it,
yeah,
and then they email me
yeah,
and
Yeah.
they say, and that's how we do it
Yeah,
at the GCC.
yeah.
So
that's
Okay.
good,
Ellie had emailed us at the J and said, hey, can my kid come today? We
Yeah.
look at our numbers, we look at our ratio, and then we say,
Yeah.
yes, we could take them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you need to know ahead of time, but
yeah,
if you know for the next 5 weeks.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I need daycare, or
Yeah.
aftercare.
I remember
Monday.
those conversations and I think, most organizations say no, they have
Yeah.
to have formal schedules and all that. And so if that's where the town is going with it, fine. But it was so,
it's
Convenient to
Yeah.
have that.
yeah, and I think it caused, back to the issues with collecting the fees and all of
Yeah.
that came out, like, that caused more complications there. So if you're doing that, it's gotta be.
Yeah, I mean, the
I think that's the
computer
thing.
system was nice to have,
Yeah.
cause you had it. I will say, like, there's a lot of us that, like, I don't know who uses Parks and Rec, but like Mondays. My son would go to CCD, so I wouldn't need it on Mondays unless it was a Monday that we didn't have CCD, right? So I think that there's people, that people that
Right,
would.
and the
need
other
that,
way to deal
yeah.
with that is like to
If it's-
keep the fee as low as possible, so
Yeah.
people sign up for full time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and don't worry about the
Yeah.
fact that they're only using 4 days a week or
Mhm.
whatever. But
Yeah, but I do that, I mean,
If none of
5 or
that's
3 days,
possible,
like,
then
that is a nice. Way to look at it,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if we could do that, that'd be great. So I think
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
a bonus that we
yeah,
kind of initially didn't think we could do, and if we could do it,
Yeah.
that's great.
yeah,
I think with my rec, we could do it,
yeah,
and like I said, if it's a one-off, it has to be,
yeah,
make a phone call.
yeah.
Let's see if we can make it work.
And we make it more, we used to do 7:30 start. I'm really thankful to do a 7 a.m. start, honestly, because I do think there's a lot of high school teachers or even middle school teachers. Or anywhere, that start work at 7:30. It was the before care starting at 7:30 would be difficult, so the 7 a.m. start, we actually might get more. In our before program than we had before.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be challenging to staff, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, if possible, I mean, that would be good, cause I mean,
Mhm.
it's like teachers in general, everyone working in the school,
Yeah.
I think be beneficial if
Yeah.
we could do it.
yeah,
Well,
trying to work some schedules out.
the other thing I was gonna bring up is licensing, just so that we keep bringing it up and discussing it at certain points. The recommendation that I got when I spoke with the licensing expert was if as a town, if you register as a daycare with an school-aged extension, it's a bit of an easier process, and then you can just change the hours in the summer rather than go by the youth camp licensing regulations. You have to go by the daycare licensing regulations, which are also strict, but that was the recommendation. If you're gonna have both, do it that way
Mhm.
first. So do it from the aftercare.
Is it
at the
anything that's so,
daycares.
like, because we won't have infants and toddlers, right? Like in toileting, hopefully. But is it anything like, because when I read our licensing, like, it's nothing that's so far fetched. The only thing, like, my only question is, like, in regards to, we don't obviously have, like, I don't know how it works here, like, for daycares, but the whole backyard here is not fenced in, so I don't know how that's gonna.
Yeah, no, that's the
impact
problem.
it.
The playground actually would worry me
Yeah.
a lot with that.
Yeah,
And like I mentioned this
Yeah.
to Mike at the open house. There are just specific things with like the wires that have to be hidden or
Yeah.
behind things or with a thing covering it and stuff like that. There are a lot of little things
Yeah.
like that are.
but to me,
that would
that's
be
a
true for
much
either, for a
cheaper
youth camp or a
fix
daycare.
versus
than,
fence.
than the fencing piece that's okay for a school to, like.
And the playground surfacing is a big,
Yeah.
they're gonna measure how much mulch
Yeah.
is there and, there are a lot of.
Yeah, like, and there's things out of our control, because that's BCS's.
Plus so many square feet per
Yeah,
child. Keep that in mind too, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we don't have a very large facility either.
right, but that's what I was talking about with Don, where I was like, it may be something, especially for summer camp, where we are asking BCS,
Mhm.
like other parks, that like Camden does it with their schools, they use their elementary schools
Mhm.
for their Parks and Rec summer camp programs. We have a facility like you know, over there, so that may be stuff to like explore over the year, so
Mhm.
I'm wondering like, you know, how we have somebody come in to talk to Nicole, like, and Mike about those options, or maybe like, I don't know if we could get somebody to come in when the commission members are here too, but talk about what does it look like you're saying, to do it this way versus this way. And how, you know, how do we make this
Mhm.
work? I know this is something like the town has, you know, the town wants too, so like, is there funds or grants or something that is out there to be able to explore to get some kind of fencing put? I just don't know how you do that over it and with the BCS size of things. I know you ordered like fencing, like to have at like Veterans Park, which I think is great, right? I like how you're having you're trying to find out about getting the buzzer to come in the door, you know, the swipe. I think that's huge. I'm just wondering, you know, because we want all of this done the way it's supposed to be, but this could definitely be a huge capital project in the sense.
Right,
But
right.
even just having someone come in and look what we presently have
Yeah.
Yeah,
and say, okay, this needs expanding, this does not,
yeah,
good here.
yeah,
So that way we have an idea of what
Mhm.
needs to be accomplished.
right,
To get that licensing quick.
right,
And the
right.
other thing
'Cause
too
I think,
is also the cost. We need to figure out.
well, that's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah, I agree, but
you know?
like,
But
in
gotta
addition
have
to
someone come in and
specialties, like a
evaluate that
consultant.
has, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it might be
Yeah.
well worth hiring a consultant. We're
Yeah.
really gonna explore this and just say, hey, here's what it's gonna cost you.
Mhm.
Because we're
And-
kind of estimating it and.
but I'm
there's
saying,
a lot
Emily,
of
does the
little
state
things.
like come out to do a
I
know, like-
asked her that,
yeah.
she said, if you're pursuing licensing,
Yeah,
yes, they will, but not until you really are. So I feel like where we are is, I just
Yeah.
wanted to, I'm not bringing it up because I'm saying we need to get licensed before doing a before and after.
No.
care
No,
program.
no,
That's very good.
no,
point.
that's what
I'm
I'm saying,
bringing it
start
up because I
Yeah.
think it is worth it. And I think Jen Cafasso had also spoken to someone at licensing, and maybe some of the things she heard were slightly different than what I heard. So
Right,
it
right.
depends who you talk to. But the person that I speak, she's my licensing rep for my centers that I
Right.
run. So there's a potential conflict of interest there, but I did ask her if unofficially anyone could sort of coach or support.
Yeah,
And she said she's open for
Yeah.
like Nicole reaching out to her.
Yeah.
This is, the last time I
Yeah.
spoke to her was like right
Yeah.
before Nicole started.
cause
And I said, there's
yeah,
gonna be a new director, and she said she can call me anytime, so
Yeah.
I'll give you her contact information.
Yeah.
So I don't know that she'd be willing to like come out and look and give us until we're actually in the process.
but I
maybe
think
she
we
could
said we
even
wanna
provide
be
us
in the
with a
prop.
point of contact too, that would come out and take a look. I mean, she's, you know, in that realm, so she may have
Well,
name of a consultant or. you
well,
know,
wait,
someone
hold
to
on,
come
here's
in.
my question though. What does it mean by, like, in the process means we're starting it and trying to do it. We could hit,
applied.
we've applied, like, we could we could absolutely hit roadblocks and that could be on pause because there's things we have to do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't pause us being able to have a program, right?
Because we
You
are.
know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Because
saying.
we
So
had
we,
that vote, we
yeah.
don't even need the licensing at this point. This is in addition to.
Well, I
right,
think,
well, but I think.
Jamie's point, if it was a private daycare and we were applying for a license and they came out and said, you don't meet it because X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z, they'd say, stop
Stop.
functioning.
Yeah,
But not
Right.
municipally
Right,
run program,
right.
because we're not
Would it-
required.
Right.
Why
That's what I'm
not
saying. I
pay
think-
the
I think-
consultant then? Don't even get.
So
anyone
are you
licensed
starting to say like,
at this point.
maybe we actually pursue the application so that they will come
Yeah.
out, even if it takes us a year? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I kind of think that's what the town wanted. That's what the
Yeah,
town
oh,
voted. They
definitely.
didn't, I think
No,
if
they
we,
do want it, but we have to understand
right, but
the
if,
impact.
Yeah, we have to have
right, but if
we
you
can't
start
just-
the process and all of a sudden it's 100 grand to get this licensed. Then we come back to a meeting or a town meeting, right? Whatever it might be, and say, we, in order to start, we had to start the application. If what we're hearing is, if we come back and it's, okay, say it's 150 grand because we have to do all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And it becomes not feasible to do. Then we have to bring that back in my eyes, and so like, this is something we might have to table, talk about later. Then we bring it to the town, we need transparency, so I think if we're applying, it's not saying that then none of this can happen. Getting a consultant is just honestly wasting money
No, I don't
again
think
for
so,
the
because I think
town.
we need
If
to
you have
educate
someone,
ourselves.
but you have someone directly from the state that will do that, so you're wasting
Yeah.
money.
So
Well-
here's the thing, time
Am I
out.
wrong?
We've
Okay.
actually had a vote already.
Yeah.
And we said we would look into pursuing, that was it.
Right,
we're doing that. And at some point, the program's already approved and it's very specific because that was the whole debate we had for weeks. How it was gonna be worded, and the town has already voted on an unlicensed program. And we would pursue, that's what we brought up, that we would pursue looking into it.
but I think that's
We
pursuing
don't
looking
need
into it.
another meeting if it comes down to, hey, it's $300,000 to do this.
So I think,
I-
I think the question is just what are we doing right now to pursue or to decide, what
Yeah.
the
We
next step
need to
is.
educate ourselves. We can't just jump in with both feet. We need
Yeah.
to really understand what's going on as a commission. Right? I mean, instead of hiring people on the outs, you know what I mean? We need to educate ourselves. What is basically up to standard right now and what is not?
Yeah,
And
I
then,
know that Jen said something about, Quinnipiac Valley Health had to come in.
Yes.
OEC would even
Mhm.
talk to us, so I can reach out to Alexis over at Quinnipiac.
I thought Jen said they already had, no?
I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That'd be a
Yeah, you
good
need
step.
local
I
health
I
can
think-
get to
department.
Alex, I have a good relationship with Alexis and she already came to do the lake, so I could reach out to her and
Okay.
ask her.
Uh-huh.
And then if you give me the other lady's
Yeah.
number, I'll reach out to her. And we can go.
Yeah,
from there.
because maybe, I mean, when I was talking to her, it sounded like we wait, and she did recommend submit your application as complete as possible, because that they'll come out faster when it's
Mhm.
complete meaning like there's a health inspection, a fire marshal certificate and
I know the fire
the
marshal.
correct forms and
Okay.
all those things. Cause then they'll come faster, whereas if the application isn't even complete, they won't even come out, is what she said. And so
Right.
they'll kick it back to you, and then it goes back sort of to the end of the list
Right.
of what people
Right.
waiting for their inspection. But she said she'd talk, and maybe in that you can get enough information.
One of the biggest things we need to know, and this is, I agree with Pat, where
You
either
have to-
consultant makes sense.
See, I
We need
disagree.
to know, but we need to know what all these positions are gonna cost. We need the nursing position, the nursing coordinator.
They're
We
not gonna be
need-
able to tell us that. They're not,
Well,
because-
somebody would, because they would say, okay, for this size, that's what the whole purpose of a consultant would be for, hey, based on this, you're gonna need to hire this person. We're kind of coming up with all kinds of, well, maybe we could kind of have one
I mean-
person do multiple things.
licensing requires a nurse consultant, an education consultant, and a social service
And those are the
consultant.
things, we need a final cost on what that's gonna.
But that's.
But that's
you-
determined by you,
negotiate a
that's
contract
determined
with a
by us.
person. Licensing doesn't.
Yeah.
determine
Right,
that.
Yeah.
but I mean, I think
And-
that's a huge piece, that right there, because that's gonna be a recurring cost annually. Or monthly, or whatever it ends up being.
Right, right.
We need to have an idea of what this is, if it's, the nursing consultant might be 5,000 a year, it might be
That's
50,000.
that's actually a hugely high, like a high number.
I mean,
to
I
be
think
honest
it
with you.
really
We have
depends.
consultants at school districts that aren't that high.
I just want an evaluation of our facilities, our playground, things of
Right.
that nature. What needs to be accomplished?
But that's
Does the
It's
mulch
the
meet
facilities stuff that I think ends up
That-
costing a lot and.
Exactly,
requiring a
and
lot.
And
that's
it
what
could be.
I would like
Right,
to
so-
be educated on.
That's what I'm saying, isn't that what like if we
But
fill,
if we start the process, I want someone, before we start the process, I wanna go
So
in.
who would that be?
yeah, that's, I
But
think,
this is what I'm saying,
I-
Nicole, is gonna reach out to these two folks and see, if they could come out and say,
Yeah.
as this woman came out and said, look at the lake, you need gates here, you need,
Right, right.
and it won't, should it take long? I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you
if they,
can-
but
you
if they
can get
do
this
say you
woman
have to
to
start the
download,
app,
it'd be
like,
helpful.
if they say you have to start the process first,
Mhm.
then that's, they're gonna be the ones that know the most
Yeah,
about it, like,
Because-
they're the ones who ultimately are signing off on it.
yeah.
They
It's
would,
like
we need to
opening-
have
it's
a
like-
formal vote here too, because that kind of had true legs of its own. It really did, like, all of a sudden, we never had a formal vote here that, oh, we're gonna pursue licensing in addition. Then all of a sudden it was in the thing, for the meeting.
Yeah,
And then, oh, we're pursuing that, well, but now we're having a sign off that it's not licensed, so I don't wanna keep going back to the town every single time, like, cause they've
I
already.
think I
approved this.
agree, but I do think it's gonna keep going back if we're not exploring all the options for it, because I do think there's a huge part of the town that believes that we're doing, that they did vote the way that they voted too, because we did say we are looking into everything that needs to be done to license, so
And
I
we're looking
think,
into it,
but I think we have to really
And then
look
at
into
some
it. I
point
don't
we
think
have
it could
to-
be like.
No, and I agree, but we need to come up with a method of doing that, like, I also don't wanna just start
Understanding
saying
it,
thing and saying like, oh, you know, we know, hey, it's gonna cost 10,000, 20,000. We need some estimate of what this whole thing is gonna
So
cost.
Lisa, when we start the process, we know, okay, we need to get the mulch this thick, we need
Right,
to
so
get.
that's where I think I'm confused, because I think that that's what you were told, if like you start the application process, they can come in and tell you A, B, and C of what you have to do. It's like when you're opening a restaurant or you're open,
Yeah,
like
but-
don't, or a bar. They come in and say, you have, okay, you started your license for it, but oh no, now you need to do this. This isn't in this, they're not coming in ahead of time because you're saying, hey, I'm gonna open a bar. I want you to come in first.
No,
Right.
So they're gonna say like, this is how much mulch you need. This is where the problem is. And then we have our commission meeting, okay? So maybe it doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
town meeting unless we're like, oh no, we do really wanna
Yeah.
move forward with this and it's a huge
I
investment.
guess I'm
Yeah, 'cause-
looking at it just,
Yeah.
see, I'm leery of just
Yeah.
someone telling me to do something, just one person say, you have to
But
do
if-
this. I like to research and say, do I need to do it, and am I meeting the requirements?
But that's what I'm saying. If it's a
That's
licensing
what
person,
makes
they're
me
the ones who
nervous
are gonna.
about one.
But that's a licensing, that's what I'm saying, if
Yeah.
you start the licensing process, that's on record now of what you need
Yeah.
to do by the person who's gonna be licensed.
No, I understand that.
That's why I don't want a consultant coming in who, that's their
But at least we
interpretation.
Know what is will be expected, so if this, let's say the consultant says you need 1 inch of mulch, that's all you need. And then you have the official come in,
Yeah, and they say,
right, and
and they
says
say
you
three,
need 3 inches.
yeah, it's a big, that's why I'm saying we need the official to do.
You know, but we won't, but the thing is, though, we won't have that knowledge, we could say, look, you know, we had a consultant says 1 inch, what's the difference?
And we
You
also,
know, the question, you know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
that's in the regs.
but I mean, we
Yeah.
also need to have we need to know what all these consultants are gonna cost. Maybe they're only
Yeah.
5,000. If they're only 5,000, that's fantastic, but
So
I can't
can I speak to
imagine.
that?
Yeah.
Um. Where I work, we have a contract for a nurse consultant who must come once a week, but that's because we have infants and toddlers.
Okay,
If we didn't have infants and toddlers, if we just had preschoolers, they would be required to come once a month.
Okay,
I'm not sure if you're running a licensed daycare, but just with the school age children, I'm not sure. I'd have to read that closer to know, but maybe it's a monthly visit. There has to be a visit.
but then what is do you know what that costs?
I mean, we
we're-
pay her tens of thousands of dollars because she's coming weekly.
Weekly for
for
MP.
5 different sites and
Okay.
providing
Yeah.
trainings. But, so that's our only consultant contract that is big. So I don't know what it would be for
Right.
us, but we potentially could find someone. We'd have to check the regs to see. It probably does say once a month. And they're gonna be making sure that we have any documentation for any kids with medication, et cetera. They're gonna be making sure our first aid kits are.
So I think step A. is
And then,
let's figure out.
can I just finish the other two?
Yeah,
My large organization, we have a social services consultant who comes once a year to a meeting where we talk about social services. And she charges us, $50 an hour once a year. If we never invited her to come, she would charge us nothing. We have a contract that says as needed. Same with the ed consultant. We do use her.
Mhm.
She comes once a month to do some coaching with our teachers, but that's up to us. Our contract with her is also as needed, $70 an hour or $100 an hour, whatever it is. So I know, and in
And
the
we may be able to,
licensing
we may
regs,
be able to pull from, consulting with the nurse for BCS. We may be able to pull consulting with
Right.
the director of curriculum over there and giving,
Yeah,
giving
that's true.
her, like, they're, like Emily's
And they
saying, I
have to come
think
once a year?
there's questions that we have in regards to what that looks like.
literally, the social services consultant comes on Zoom to a meeting where she participates. She's not even like, she's a
Yeah.
wonderful human being. Like, I'd love to
Mm.
use her more.
Yes,
But, we
Yeah.
don't pay her at all.
Yeah.
The ed consultant comes in person to be in classrooms because we ask her to, but if we didn't use her.
Yeah.
A couple of years
and
ago,
that's 75 to 100 an hour,
something like that,
so
yeah.
$100 max.
The
Yeah.
nursing contract is the only big one,
Yeah,
but I agree, it could be that. The other thing is that licensing regulations say you need those 3 consultants. Here's a sample contract with no money on it, but here's a sample, like
Yeah.
list of responsibilities of that person. And here's a sample log of how they track when they do come or when they do have a phone call with you. And that's what licensing looks at.
yeah,
They don't look at how much you're spending on this. They don't look at, they do, like I said, for the nurse consultant, they're checking that we're getting a nurse checking once a week because we have infants and toddlers.
yeah.
But they're not checking for the other 2. They don't care how much. They're
long as you
literally
have
looking at the
contact.
log. Does this person, actually,
Yeah.
one of the only things they really care about is, does this person check your policies and procedures
Yeah.
every year? Do they consult with that? So those, we could literally pull the sample contract or consultant agreement and the sample log for those three.
Mhm.
Reach out to somebody who has
Yeah.
expertise in those three areas.
But
I mean, if we're also
that's what I'm
having a
saying.
nurse
Those
at
are-
summer camp, that could be done in the summer as part of the policies and procedures.
It's
that we're
only a
doing.
couple $1,000 minus the nurse, of course.
Right.
And
And
the
it's a-
other,
That's the unknown one.
yeah.
And that's the one I think we have to definitively know those three positions, what we're gonna be paying, right?
Yeah.
Cause we have a lot of maybes and they sound good, but we need definitives. And then,
But how do you get a definitive until you
Yeah.
discuss negotiating a contract with someone?
what's what you have
Can
to
you get
do,
an
you have to
estimate
figure
from
out,
your
what-
nurse?
I mean.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know, JCC,
Yeah, you
they
gotta-
pay like $75 an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
And how many
I know-
hours?
I know when we did the after
They-
school over there, she was there
Yeah.
for a while. At least 2 days, going through everyone's paperwork. But once that paperwork was done, then she just comes every once in a while, just to double check that there's someone that didn't expire or someone.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
initial cost will be probably 2 days worth of work at $75 an hour. And then I would say throughout the year, maybe once a month, coming in and checking for a few hours.
So when you say initial, is that each year?
Yes,
So each year you're gonna have a kind of an upfront initial
right.
and then a monthly.
Because she's gotta
Or
check
60
every
days.
single stuff, and
Is there
it will
guidance
be
on
less
OT
if
that says
Mike and I are
Sure.
organized and
That's
have everything
that's
done,
what they
and
need
all
to
she
do.
has to do is go through it
Yeah.
and look at it.
So that's a perfect example. Would you be able to have like any way to estimate or be able to get what she, the total hours that she works?
Well, remember
here?
too, it depends how many kids we have too.
I understand that, but I mean, we have to kind of have, you know,
For estimate purposes, right? You said
That's
75.
high. That,
Yeah,
that's, that
100's
hundred's
a
really
lot.
high.
I mean,
You gotta go by the rate of what they, of what they make. There's administrators that only make like $65 an hour. and
Yeah.
it's-
but I mean, that's like a huge thing is my
Yeah.
point. Like, we have to figure out roughly how many hours we would need them for.
To the nurse,
So even if we're at ballpark and we don't have to contract with the person.
But I
If we
think,
know it's 75 an hour is the going rate and we estimate, okay, JCC has a lot more students potentially, so.
But-
It's gonna be dictated by that, but we have to have numbers. We can't.
well, I
just be
think we
like,
also, but hold on, I
"Well,
think, but I think we also have to talk to somebody at licensing to find out what the exact job of the nurse is. Because we're just saying, oh, 2 days and this, that, like, we have to figure out from, like, that's not our job to do. Like, we need to find it from, from the Office of Early Childhood. What do we need to have done? Like, what is their role? Is their role just check, like, is it checking off? And what kind of nurse does it need to be? Does it need to be an RN? Could it be, an LP? Like, what do we need it to be? And what is their consultation role? So I think that's important to have, to know, then what does it become? The
Right.
difference between not being a daycare.
what they go through every single solitary medical record we have of
Mhm.
each kid, to
Mhm.
make sure that it's, the physical is filled out
Yeah.
properly, it's signed by the doctor.
Yeah.
And then if there's a medical form or medication, that the medication form is filled out properly, the medication is stored properly, and
Mhm.
it's in the right containers.
Yeah.
And then they do the EpiPen stuff too.
Mhm.
But they don't
So-
have to do our training.
Yeah, they don't have to do it. The
No, no,
meds.
no.
We get
Yeah,
the fire department to do
Yeah.
that for
Right.
us. We don't. have to pay
anybody
them
can
to
do that, yeah.
I mean, it's all here. We
That's-
can,
Yeah,
you can Google the sample.
But that's just gonna ask, is on a website where they give that information, or do you have to start the licensing process to
No,
obtain
it's
this
all in the
information?
OEC,
Oh,
all in the
Okay.
It's
OEC
all in the regulations.
package,
okay.
yeah.
Well, because that's it, the regulation, because we've looked at it a couple of times now, so I mean, it shows all these positions, what's needed, I get that. What I'm saying is, somehow we need to boil it down. We have to come up with some estimate of what this is, the consultants are gonna cost and then move on.
yeah, I mean, to me, I don't know that the consultants are gonna be as major as,
And you're right, and that might be the big.
that's what I think,
defense, it
I
might
think
be
our
you-
big stuff is gonna be,
The biggest.
Yeah.
Physical.
yeah.
that might be the no-go part right there. But, I
And
mean,
yeah, I
But
think,
we also, correct me if I'm wrong, school age children rules are different than.
that's what, yeah,
Yeah,
like, that's
And-
what I wanna know, like,
It's all in the OC.
so, but there's only from my understanding, there's only two sets of regulations. There's for youth camps and there's for daycares, but there's a school age endorsement.
Right,
that you get if you're just running the school age.
So what would make our
Daycare
lives a
program.
lot easier? So municipalities had to be licensed and they adjusted licensing according to.
Well, there were.
What,
They
no,
are
but,
working
no,
on
what I'm
it.
saying, but if they adjusted them according to these places that do use, you know, school facilities. I will say though, we are one of the few school facilities that doesn't have a fenced in playing area for kids, because there's a lot of schools that I have been to that my older son has gone to, their fields are gated. Like you go to a lot of the Hampton elementary schools, a lot of them are fenced in areas where the kids are gonna be. Again, probably done hundreds of years ago in a sense, but like, you know.
Yeah, see,
You know what I mean? Like there are certain schools you go to and it's there, like, so I am shocked in some ways we don't, that BCS has gotten away with kind of not having.
Yeah.
To that, you know what I mean? Not.
And this may be something you can ask the licensing person when you talk to her. Two of our sites are on city property in the city of Milford and, the city of Shelton. And so we can't do certain things with the physical plant, right? Both of those sites, we've just like purchased our own playground equipment and installed a playground, even though that playground no longer belongs to us as soon as we install it. Because that's easier than trying to get the city to build a playground that meets licensing requirements.
And they never waiver, like they'll never waiver that it's not our.
Well, that's what I'm
Place,
thinking, that's what I'm wondering, I
yeah.
wanna like push a little bit, not
Yeah.
that it would be a waiver, it would have to meet certain things, but.
It-
Are there some kinds of, is there an attestation form that we could get the school to
Yeah,
sign saying we're using this equipment, this space, and therefore, some little detail of
right,
whatever doesn't have to comply completely because we don't have control over
Right.
that.
right.
I don't know which details, if any, that might apply to, but that's something that I would ask this licensing person.
Right,
Um,
because maybe there are parts to that we could not get away with, like
would be exempt from.
be exempt
Right.
from.
yeah, but I said this to Mike at the open house. For a while, it seemed like the state of Connecticut was saying, okay, never mind, we won't require youth camps to get licensed, and now it seems like they're pushing back and
They
it
are,
will,
yeah.
it will pass,
They
and
are,
that will
yeah.
happen, it's an inevitability.
It very well might be, but then there also might be amendments to it at that point,
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah,
so there probably are
But
gonna
if
be
at
some
that
adjustments
point-
at that point.
if they do that, back to Jamie's point, no longer will we be able to say, let's pursue it and try to do it, but if we don't meet it yet, we still run a program.
We
Because
won't
then
be
they'll
able to.
say, as of this date, you
Yeah.
have to be licensed. And the person who recommended that to me, that we go through the daycare route rather than the youth camp route.
Mhm.
Once we have a functioning youth camp and that state of Connecticut requires that all youth camps get licensed, we'll have to use the youth camp licensing regulations. And I don't know them, maybe they're better, but she was recommending we start with daycare.
Youth camp is much easier, so at JCC, at both OEC and youth camp is much
Oh,
more.
they're both through
lenient.
OEC, aren't they?
They are, but they're two separate
Yeah.
things, the youth camp is much milder than the OEC.
Can youth camp be considered before and after care?
I don't think so.
Like after school can't be a youth camp
Mm.
during the school.
Maybe that's what she's recommending that to me.
Yeah,
because
you don't have to do, no, I mean,
You don't have to have. both.
but I do know, like, my friend had, he was doing a camp and they had it was gonna be like 9 to 2. And OEC like got a hold of it, cause he didn't, like, it was like a private like camp. And they had to knock it down to be like 9 to 12 because.
So you can only
because-
have a certain amount.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's why I also think like Woodbridge's camp is only like 8 to 12 or 9 to 12. They only do a shortened time for their camp.
Because
My
then after
recommendation
that
would be
counts
to
as
get both
daycare.
Yeah.
licensing if we-
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I think
Yeah.
what she was saying was you don't necessarily have to get both. If you have the daycare one,
Then
then you
just do
expand it.
Hmm.
But.
But I think, yeah,
I'll talk to her
so
and
step
get
one-
it right.
yeah, step one, it would be like, let's figure out what we need to. What it does need to look like, because I do think I think we need to really have that conversation. And it needs to be like, not like a tomorrow conversation, but a priority, because I
Right.
do think. That is something that. People that are adversarial to Parks and Rec right now are really being like, are you guys doing, like, are you exploring it? Because if we were saying we're gonna actively explore something and we're kind of just like, oh, like maybe next month we'll look into it. I do think that's gonna question our credibility, and I think we're all strong, like, we all have, we're all credible people.
I say just get the license because state of Connecticut is gonna, they want their money. And the-
Well, and then he's-
the
Something-
election-
something-
and
and
the
something is
licensing,
coming.
everything.
And I
Anything
hope,
in the process
Let's
of the right
look
thing.
at it right now.
Gonna improve it.
Thing-
yeah,
Well, not only that, but state of Connecticut finds ways to get more money, really.
yeah, no,
They
you're
do.
right,
No,
you're right.
So it's like.
Look at
let's
licensing
start
for
the
anything.
process,
Can I
and
just
that
say
way-
something about the two licensing?
Yeah.
The reason why you wanna get the youth licensing for the summer camp, or the summer camp license is because of the training. The training for the OEC daycare is much more intense.
Mhm.
They have to take
Yeah.
a 5-hour course. Each and every one of them.
Yeah.
And all.
The
of
Care
them
for
do
Kids course, that one?
Yeah,
What's that?
Mm.
5 hour.
5-hour, I don't remember what.
but I like what Emily was saying, would go
There
with
was
the
something in
daycare,
there.
then expand it to the summer.
There's if you accept
Start
Care for
small
Kids funding, everybody has to take either 5
Which is
hours or
the
18
daycare.
hour training, but other than that.
Yeah, see, these are the good questions we need to have answers for, 'cause, like, cause we wouldn't take, Care for Kids wouldn't come to this, right? They don't do.
That's a
I
whole
had
separate
several
thing.
parents calling us.
But do they,
That's a
Yeah.
whole separate thing. That
Yeah.
requires its own
Uh-huh.
training.
yeah,
What is it? What is it?
Care for Kids, it's like the state
Healthcare
assistant,
subsidy.
yeah. Which is great for, you know, for.
So why
But-
don't I do my homework
Mhm.
and then at the next
Yeah.
one, report back?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And if you could, start getting ideas on how many hours you think the nurse would be,
Yeah,
things like that,
budget.
because, I definitely would like to see what each of these are. What this is gonna tap
Did
into everything.
Did we ever have a nurse? I mean, I know we don't necessarily know from certain things, but I know they had a nurse in the summer allegedly, although I don't
They
ever
had.
remember. Although I don't ever remember, I know we do now,
Yeah.
but
They did.
I don't ever remember handing in, to be honest with you, I know I never handed in a medical form.
No.
No,
It was like
There
that little
was a
sign, yeah,
nurse.
but there was a nurse, right? But like,
COVID, during
right.
the height of COVID,
yeah, yeah,
When they were taking temperatures at drop off. There was a nurse there.
there was also a nurse, I think, other years too.
They had a nurse.
yeah, I think there were, I just was curious, like,
No, there
what the
definitely
nurse,
was, but
But
they
those
didn't
are
go
the
through any.
forms.
yeah, no,
Which this year is different.
yeah.
Yeah, they
I mean,
definitely.
that makes sense, too. I mean, listen, you have them right there at BCS. people
Actually,
can do
I'm
that.
not worried about what happened in the past,
No.
actually, I'm tired of hearing about the past.
I just wanna
mean, oh,
know,
really, I mean, we're here to move forward, Nicole has all these forms together, let's, I'm just tired of hearing the past, what we didn't have, what we didn't count for, and it's like.
well, no, I think we did have one for a while, so I'm just asking how, like, were they ever at? I don't think they ever were at aftercare,
Yeah,
like aftercare,
I don't know.
yeah, so I think there are times that we do have to
We
look
don't have
back.
any records, we cannot go back in history, we can't look at anything, so. To me, it's useless, to tell you the truth, I just wanna move forward, that's what I wanna focus on, is for the town folk to move forward. We're in a good place, let's start that licensing process, as you indicated, let's get forward. Nicole with her homework, see if we could get someone in to look at the facilities and say, yeah, you need a lot of improvement here, or no, hey, you're fine to go, with the licensing, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I like that idea, Nicole, if you could, that'd
Yeah.
be great, bring that back to us, next
Sorry.
meeting, which you find out. No, I mean, it's good, I mean, hey, we're gonna have differences of opinion on stuff, so
Mhm.
if you could bring that to us, that'd be fantastic, what you find out and. Go from there, I mean, if it ends up being better to kind of mirror what the JCC did, then great, but
Yeah.
I do wanna find out, how
Well-
much, we're looking at here too,
Right.
that's gonna be an important thing. To decide, it's definitely gonna be, so, all right, any other discussion for, this was actually on.
before and after care.
Before and after care, any other discussion on it?
No,
Mm-mm.
Are we good? All right. So let's move on to, which I think we kind of segued into policies and procedures,
for the summer
Yeah.
camp,
it was just
I
on here,
think-
policies and procedures,
yeah.
but I think we kind of hit on. didn't
I
we?
think we need to really, I mean, maybe it's talking about number 7, but I think we have to really beef up some of our policies and procedures.
yeah, Nicole, I was looking at the summer camp. And on one of the pages under diagnosis. The illnesses, it says if your child has a temperature, can we define the temperature, cause some parents gonna say, oh, he or she does not have 104, and to me,
Right.
that's a temperature, so. Just to make it a little bit more
I think
specific.
is there a certain number of,
It's
like a state
100
requirement?
It's 100 point.
Yeah,
100 point.
Yeah, there's like a state
is-
requirement of
is
what-
The number,
Well, I mean, I guess,
Policy's 100.0. A lot of places.
Well, see, that's
this
it.
year.
yeah,
That's what I'm
yes,
saying.
they need to
you know.
define that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just under,
I got it.
Yeah,
yeah, thank you. But I think it's well written. I like it. It covers a lot of information that we never
I
had
can send you
before.
guys the employee handbook when it's done.
Okay.
Obviously we'll go to Ben to
Mhm.
approve.
Great.
It's
Mhm.
almost done. Just wanna look at one or two at a time.
yeah,
See if I'm missing anything.
yeah. And that's what I want to, because I know our policies and procedures are going to be scrutinized
Mhm.
as they should be, right? Like, in a
Yeah.
sense, right? Like, but I think we have so many different ones, you know, it seems like, I got into it when we talked about it. The
And
next
obviously
agenda
we'll
item.
do a handbook for after school and we'll do a handbook. Employee and parent handbook for after school.
And when are we posting this, is this stuff online? Like, is it? Once we like get like we officially approve
I
it,
gotta
put
do
it in,
it soon. Yeah. Because parents need to know what they have.
Right. right?
Did you post the summer, procedures and policies online?
Not yet.
Okay, because that was one of the
Yeah.
recommendations, so
Yeah.
just get that up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's, yeah.
Yeah, on the website. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we talked about, temperature and policies, procedures. I'm just trying to figure out, is there anything else before we move on? Because that's also policies and procedures coming out of the Pullman Comey report, but, Comey report, but it's, is there anything else we're hitting on directly now for policy and procedure that we need to address? You know, for either summer camp, because I'd say it's the first immediate, so let's go towards
Is
immediate.
there, can I see, I don't have a cop, like a hard copy, like of the policy and procedures, the yellow one you had.
Oh, the yellow one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanna like
Yeah, no.
look at it for a second in my head, just to make sure that,
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I think I brought this up at a commission meeting a long time ago, one of our first commission meetings, but as you're working on the employee handbook, I think the more detailed your guidance about active supervision, the
Mhm.
better, right?
Mhm.
Because we've talked about staffing and ratios, but do the staff understand that that means, you know, they can't leave 5 children alone in a classroom. They have to pay attention to how many adults are in that room, not just the building. And
Right.
if they're gonna step out to go to the bathroom, they have to be like, you have 5 kids, you know, like as much specific guidance, I think,
Yeah.
especially with the age and experience of the staff that we tend to hire for Parks and Rec and before and after school, they might need really explicit.
So one of the things that we're gonna do is, we're gonna have, each speaker's gonna have a lead, which is gonna be hopefully college or above. And then there'll be the counselor and then and that is gonna be very embedded in them. And Mike and I will be very visible.
And I know if kids, if they're allowed to move from room to room, like what's the procedure for the staff knowing which kid is in which room or which
They're gonna
adult
have
is
to
in
count-
charge, you
They're gonna
know?
have to do head counts every time they move.
Mhm.
There's gonna be very much structure. Every
Mhm.
50 minutes, they'll have a place to go. When they leave that place, they have to count how many kids, when they get to the next place, they'll have to count how many kids.
So, one of the things, and I think we're gonna segue into it, but again, it's applicable to what we're talking about. You know, I had created a minor protection program. I don't know if you have, you know, and there's different names, you know, they call it something different, you know, in Pullman report, but basically, you know, it was a training combined with the, you know, policies. So do you have your own that you're gonna be employing? I don't know if you're gonna, you know, again, do it as you see fit, you know, add to what we have, you know, that was what we used for the basketball program. But I think it's key, we wanna make sure that's probably one of the most transparent.
yeah,
things,
like
in
what
my
is
opinion.
covered in that school, that southern school? Like, is that covered or do we need to do a separate?
No, we're
like
gonna
did
do a
Dave
separate,
need-
we're
so,
gonna
yeah.
do, we're gonna do a separate thing.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
again,
Well, that's one of the things I'm gonna talk to Dave about,
Yeah.
and I have two different, I guess, policies around it.
okay,
We also looked at some outside groups to come in and instruct us. So I need to see kind of what Dave has and can do, and then base it off of who we're gonna go with.
what did you do in the past? Like, did you contract with a specific company at the J, or how did you guys
So
do it?
we were fortunate enough that the last few years we had an internal person that kind of did all that.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, there's training, like, you know, there's a lot of us that could run it too, but you also could get somebody from, I think initially we might wanna try to get someone from DCF to come in to do the DCF mandated reporter training initially, just, like, maybe initially, if we can. To really answer any questions that the kids might have from a DCF perspective, like, I could teach that class with, like, blindfolded based
yeah, but
on
don't
like
forget
what
they
I.
also have the online.
You know.
You get the certification.
No, that's fine, like, that's fine in like certain situations, but I think having them come in first would be. Would be good because I think for like the kid, like for the staff that are coming in for the, you know, for the first time, it's. The online one could be really. I guess it's not as interactive in my.
It's probably
Let
not,
me
but that
see if I can
also,
get 'em-
yeah.
Yeah, see if you can, I'm
I
just
think
saying,
that's
you can
one
out
of
of
the keys,
curiosity.
because I don't know if they even do that, because, you know,
They,
the
yeah, they
online
come
won't
out,
do
they
that.
come out, like,
Because the
yeah,
online one, you get the
they come
certification.
out, they actually are coming out now too to do sex trafficking for everybody, because that's a huge thing right now.
I mean,
Everything's
ideally, if
human
they could do
trafficking.
the minor protection, like, because again, minor
Yeah.
protection is beyond,
Yeah.
you know, that's really important, the difference, you know, because there was a lot of confusion in town about that.
Mhm.
DCF mandated reporter training is very, very different than
Yeah,
minor protection program.
yeah,
You know, and if they have their own version of it, that by all means, I prefer to put it on them, absolutely. But the DCF mandated reporter training is,
Very basic.
yeah, I mean, that doesn't get into, you know, oh, you know, can't get piggyback, you know, stuff
Right.
that were problems that we.
I don't think, I think that's very, you know, that's
Yeah, I mean, they
very
may-
specific, because you have, they're technically two different things, right? The mandated reporter training is one thing.
Right,
And so I think you have, like, those are kind of two different things, right?
they are, I mean,
No,
they
like, they
incorporate,
are,
like,
yeah.
I did one through UConn and it
Yeah.
had to, they incorporated the two.
Yeah.
You know, they did incorporate it, and that's kind of with the training I put together, yeah, you had the separate ones where they had to get their,
Yeah.
the certification. And that's what all the coaches did, they
Mhm.
got their DCF certification, but then in addition. We did the training and that also kind of reiterated it,
Yeah.
so, I mean, you know, however it's done, that's fine, I highly doubt,
There also
Dave
needs to
Miriam
be,
is gonna have something for
there
that.
also needs to be Title IX training too. So I don't know if that happens at that school. Yeah, definitely has to be Title IX training.
What does that consist of?
So it's like, it's sexual harassment training, how to spot it, how to report
Oh,
it,
yeah, okay.
what our policy is in regards to.
That's
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah.
so Jen is getting something together with, through, I believe it's our insurance, I'm not sure who's doing it, but it's gonna
From
have a lot of that.
Mhm.
Code
Yeah.
of conduct and.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
that,
have to have training in that.
one of the recommendations, the sexual harassment
Yeah.
training, we didn't have any of
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mhm.
And then you have to be able to identify like who in this, the town is like, if someone has to file a complaint in Title IX, who do they go to? That has to be formally
Yeah, the reporting, yeah.
identified too.
Yep.
But that should already be instilled in this town. That should not be something that we come up, like you have to come up with.
Right.
There should already be someone that oversees Title
Human
IX in.
resource Should have
Yeah.
already taken care
So
of
she
it.
should, like, maybe
Yeah.
she is like the Title IX coordinator, so like,
Yeah.
it's letting kids, staff, you know, like. If there's a Title IX, who you make the report to, where does it go?
Right.
What does Title IX look like? You know,
Yeah. Now, for the code of conduct for the staff members, all these items gonna be published on the website or just certain policies? Because they indicated that there was no supervision policies, personnel policies, reporting
do
policies.
we wanna move on to,
code
do
of
we
Yeah.
wanna move on to Pullman and, cause they
I
go
think
together, they
we're
kinda
good.
go together. Let's
They
make,
do, well,
let's make a
Yeah.
motion to
No,
go
no.
on to that, cause I agree, like, we need,
let's hit
Yeah.
on that,
Yeah.
that's what's next.
Yeah.
So, are we good with the current policies and procedures? I mean, they're all kind of roll in, so let's go.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on the current policies and procedures, we'll roll into that next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
only policy I saw was the summer camp.
yeah,
But
policies and
Nicole already
procedures.
said
Yeah.
she's working on the
Yeah.
employee handbook and
Yeah.
she'll send it
Yeah.
to us and then.
We'll go to
So with that said, let's move on to what is now
the
number 8.
findings.
Yeah, discussion of the Pullman report.
Yep.
So, if everybody has it up, you know,
Yeah.
problem, I'm looking at on page, starts on 25, our, you know,
Yeah.
recommendations.
right,
Many of them. Yeah, I think we've addressed, so let's hit on bullet point by bullet point. Supervision policies, which you're getting into, Pat. Guidelines for staff interaction with children, including restrictions and physical contact. So this is basically.
Can we just start at the like at the beginning of page 24 though, just because I do think we had a lot of questions, questions to us about what the commission role
Okay.
like was. So I just want us to like, so in the beginning, in the part of
Parks and Recs Commission.
yeah, it says, based on these provisions, we conclude the park, and I think this is important for like the public to know, right?
Yeah.
The Parks and Recreation Commission is authorized to provide oversight to the Director of Parks and Recreation and to assist in developing, implementing, and overseeing department programming. I think we got a lot of like slack
Yes.
on us.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
correctly.
people are like, you're not a board or a commission,
Yeah.
so I do like that it kind of says in here that like this, like we are here to be like working as a team to
Right.
oversee and help implement and program, so I just think we should go on.
No, I agree with you, because that
like-
was one of those
Oh,
things. that-
And maybe we need to, but maybe we need to put something on on the website for the commission. Kind of like when we're talking about identifying a role, like,
Well,
Yeah, and.
You
just
know?
Literally take this word for word
yeah,
and put it on.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
I just, yeah,
just
so-
put it in quotes.
yeah, exactly,
Or the report.
yeah.
The commission.
Parts of our roles and responsibilities
Yeah.
are, boom, exactly how it's written.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
exactly.
just,
Well,
that
I'm
was,
assuming they got that from the code, the town code.
I don't
I-
think it's that obvious. I honestly think
Yeah.
a lot of the
Like
way the
one
town is
sentence in the
operating,
code.
because we have literally, there is no town charter.
No,
Nobody
Right, that's
knows
the
what
thing.
anybody's role is, so I think a lot of the analysis was just kind of,
like,
you know,
they're
and I've heard
concluding
Vin
that.
talk about
That's what
it.
they're saying. Yeah,
Oh, you don't have a town charter, therefore it reverts to
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
I think they're kind of going off of a generalized what it is, since it doesn't say otherwise.
yeah,
well.
That's my
I
understanding.
mean, there
Well,
is a
I read
code,
it-
like when I said I would be on this commission, I
Right.
read the code. It
Right.
like one sentence says
Yeah.
that there should be a Parks and Rec commission. I don't remember if it says something like this. That's.
Exactly.
I read
Yeah.
it, that's their interpretation of our Park and Rec Commission.
Yeah, and well,
yeah,
You know, that's their.
this is their interpretation
Yeah.
of the company we paid,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Right.
I think
You
that
know?
holds weight, so if anybody's like, oh, that's not
Yeah.
your role, well,
Yeah.
having it in black and white,
Yeah.
that is our role, so I
Yeah.
think that's a really good point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, so I think if we could figure out how to, yeah.
I might be able to post on my ref somewhere.
I mean, it's, I wouldn't worry about that part, like on my rec, I don't think, I think it's gotta be like on the town website where the commit, like.
Where it says
where
about the commission.
Where it says something about the commission, just like part of, you know,
About that.
yeah, like.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
we
good
could, yeah.
point.
This way,
Yeah, because they do cite the code
yeah,
on, very first paragraph, I mean,
It's slim, right?
yeah,
yes, it's
yeah.
very slim, but they said based on these provisions or the
Yeah.
codes.
Mhm.
This is their interpretation
Right,
of these
Gotcha.
codes.
Yeah. Right. And I think we had questions too, like what is the commission versus?
Exactly.
We had asked
Like,
that.
like we, yeah, numerous
you know, I
times.
talked to people from the previous, like, no,
Yeah.
it's just a working
Yeah.
commission, you don't come up with policies, and then it
Yeah.
was, oh, you do come up, so
Yeah.
this, I think.
Just
was
like-
nice.
Right.
At our backs, I applaud them for the last paragraph citing how many meetings that we have conducted with
right.
them
Yeah.
for
No,
month period versus the previous years.
right, right. Absolutely,
Right, and I think we all took it seriously that in the absence of a director, we did need to do a lot
Yes.
of that on the
Right.
base level.
Right.
Not run programs, but
Right.
get ready.
right,
And then with a director,
right,
I think so far what's happened already is
Right.
we're like. My expectation is that you're reading this too, even if this is directed at Parks and Rec
Right.
Commission,
right,
that you will write. The guidelines for staff interaction with children, including restrictions on physical contact. But we are
Just
responsible
review over
for
it.
making sure you do that.
We're there to assist.
Right.
Assist if needed
And
and.
that's what
Which
I
you guys
think,
have been great.
Yeah,
at.
exactly.
yeah,
and
But
I'm
I like-
appalled by the one paragraph above the last paragraph, saying that one commission member acknowledged
yeah,
that very little monitoring
yeah,
and guidance. And its primary role consisted of scheduling events.
right.
I'm appalled by that.
And I think that that's where we're, like you said, we're going forward. I think I'm glad that they highlighted you in here.
Yes,
I-
We did, yeah.
Like, I read that and I was like, okay, and all the negativity and
Mhm.
the stuff in there, like, I was glad that they felt that the commission members and you.
Yeah.
We're solid and we're committed to working, collaboratively. I think this definitely helps to give more credibility
Exactly.
and support, saying that we're gonna be in good hands.
Yes.
And I think this is where our role is, that line, of our role is gonna be important, to be working together. From what I'm hearing, it was, in the past, it was like, I got everything covered, and so I think we're all gonna continue to work together in that piece, so I think that that's huge,
So I
so,
do have to say.
yeah,
Like, one of the reasons I took this job
Yeah.
was because of the
Yeah.
passion that I saw in the interview that you guys had for this town
yeah.
and the kids programs. And it's not only the kids programs, it's gonna be adult
Yeah.
programs also, so like, that was a huge part of the reason I took this.
I think for me, seeing the kids smile for the little thing that you have brought to the annex, right? Like, did you not feel like when
Yeah.
Yeah.
when your kids came in, like, it was like, oh my God,
Not
like,
even done.
I know,
It was
but,
great though.
but even I have to be honest, it even felt welcoming to walk in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
great.
I didn't feel like I was like, oh, I shouldn't be in here,
Yeah.
Right.
And it was beautiful, is seeing kids that used to play together,
Mhm,
all of a sudden run up and hug each other.
mhm.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
know, I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah.
I wish I had taken
Yeah.
photos of that,
Yeah.
cause I've
Yeah, it
looked
was
at the
nice.
photos, I
No.
thought that was beautiful.
right,
I
right.
mean, and this is what this is all about, right?
They've missed it for a whole
Yeah.
year, like there was a parent who's like, I'm not going to the open house, but. I'm signed up for camp, and Drew and his friend were like talking, and I go, this is what they've missed.
Yes.
They have missed this for a year of
Okay.
talking and having the time, because I gotta get to work and this,
Yeah.
that, and they're going, home to not to
And
nothing,
Craig's
so.
fun beating me on Pac-Man.
Yeah.
The
Um,
cutest thing was Craig's son came the day before.
Yeah.
And he saw the homework, I said, listen, the homework, I think I said it's your son too, the homework room.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, I'm like, no, listen, how long does it take? you?"
Yeah.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, I said, okay,
Yeah.
so you take the 10 minutes,
Yeah.
you get to go have fun.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then you go home
Yeah.
and your parents are relaxed and you're
Yeah,
relaxed,
you're-
next day when he
So
came in,
true.
the first place he went was the homework room.
That's awesome. See, there you go.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love when he comes home, he's like, I did my homework already, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Nice, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
I think it's wonderful.
That's great.
so I think now going to their recommendation of the
Yeah.
supervision policies, guidelines for staff interactions with children, including
Yeah.
restrictions on physical contact, so I think we just wanna clearly outline, all of this stuff,
So one thing I just want
Yeah.
to point out, this, I mean, to me, the minor protection program and build on
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
But that is this. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what you can do, what you can't do, the
Yeah.
physical contact. So this part, as far as I'm concerned, was now created, can clearly be built on and improved and added to, but there is a policy in place on that. That's what we used for.
So is the policy, I can't remember, does the policy for parents to get it or the community to see it, is it clearly outline exactly what it's supposed, like the no piggyback ride or whatever,
Yeah.
however it is, does it clearly list all that?
I
stuff?
list it,
Yeah,
yeah. I
so
mean, we
then-
can add more to it.
Yeah,
like,
so no,
hey,
do we put
but
that?
I modified it
Yeah.
from what I had seen to say, hey,
Yeah.
this was our problem, so no
Yeah.
piggyback rides, no this, can't be
Yeah.
one-on-one with kids, which
Yeah.
was what was part of it already.
Yeah,
But so everybody should have gotten a copy of it at some point. But
How
Nicole, we'll get it to
are
you
we
and
gonna
then
get- oh.
change it however you want.
I think he
can
sent
I
that
ask a
out
question though,
and
how are we gonna get past times where you are one-on-one with
yeah.
There's
teachers
always-
are not one-on-one, but okay. I think, and maybe it's just people hearing a one-on-one piece of things, but a nurse is so the nurse is gonna be one-on-one
Mhm.
potentially with a kid, right? So I guess how are we
Those things-
outlining that? Just
I put in there specifically for emergencies, it's fine.
Okay, okay.
So an emergency, I
Yeah,
don't care about
yeah,
one-on-one,
yeah.
if you're rushing a kid
Yeah.
or the nurse or
Yeah.
somebody's got to rush the kid somewhere else to do a
Yeah.
medical procedure.
that's in there though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, stuff like that, I put something
Right.
about there's gotta be priority here. you
Right.
know?
Well, that's what I wanna make sure.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
spelled
it's not
out,
like, oh, I
because-
can't bring the kid to the nurse who just
Yeah.
got stung by a bee, because I'll be one-on-one.
Yeah,
And there's always gonna be, there's always a little leeway,
Yeah.
like for, okay,
Yeah.
hey, this kid
Yeah,
had an accident,
Yeah.
that somebody's got to bring him to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah.
And, there's always gonna be,
Yeah.
it's just, now I think the secondary thing is now there's finally cameras.
I was gonna
So
say
I
there's
think the
cameras now.
cameras is this,
Yeah.
you don't want it to be the reliant thing, but you also have that
Right.
backup
We're
where.
gonna have the walkies and we're gonna let them
Yeah.
know, like, if there is a situation where you have to walk away, we're here, walk us, we
Yeah.
go over. I
Yeah,
told the nurse she's gonna have a bigger role than just sit, hanging in the office, she's gonna have to help.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
if somebody has to
yeah,
take a kid to the bathroom, she might have to be called and go help take the kid to the bathroom.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah,
So
no,
when you say one-on-one, you meaning alone with the child?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
you and I
Yeah.
could be one-on-one in this
Yeah.
room, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just trying to be
Yeah.
clear.
that's what I'm saying,
I
like, walk to a
protect
nurse if you
my
have to
right,
bring someone,
okay.
you're not gonna take, you can't
Right.
take two staff with one kid to walk to a
Exactly.
nurse, that's why I wanted to make sure, cause I think we wanna, listen, I know it's so tedious and like, I don't wanna use the word annoying, it's gonna be, I feel like our policies are gonna be scrutinized so much that, but I wanna make sure that it's not, well, you said my kid was never gonna be alone and they walked from here to here with the
Right.
kid, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, we mean alone, like, in certain situations, cause it's like, you can't have two staff walk one kid to the nurse, if
Correct.
the nurse is over there.
Right, so there's definitely room for that, and,
Yeah.
and build on it, any way you see fit, Nicole. I mean,
Yeah,
mirror what you had.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of, hey, is it there? I
Right.
think that was the big.
Right.
I also asked,
Here we
I
go.
asked Don to put a big window in the nurse's office to,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you could see in and out,
Oh, perfect,
so she'll have visibility of,
Right.
perfect,
Yeah.
I think that's good, but,
yeah,
a lot of it, I mean. Listen, it's not reinventing the wheel totally. I mean, again,
Right.
I had to do this for 4-H through UConn, which was really, and I wanted to just buy, I was trying to see if UConn sold it, and they unfortunately don't.
yeah,
But it was a real in-depth program.
yeah.
And, and it was
Which one?
really good, so that's why I tried to piggyback it off.
Road down.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, I saw that in a
Yeah, I saw that in
That's
there.
for the
In
athletic
the
trainer,
appendix are.
that's for
Give
athletic train,
examples,
but
which
that's,
we could
yeah.
pick up,
But that's more for
some-
like, that's for athletic, like, isn't that for athletic trainers?
It wasn't.
Yeah, because it's like, because it's like things you don't even think.
No,
There's so much, some of those that's why I said, I think we have to, some of the sample policies, they gave, like Coventry, like, and Glastonbury, really, they break down. It's pretty much, I think it's like right from DCF, but it's like really broken down
Yeah.
of what and so I do think like, we can have the policy that's like the abridged policy, like, you could see more of it on the act, like, there's like, I think about like on Amity, right, we have statutes and policies, but then they're broken down to like understand them a little bit more. But it might be like, this is where the full policy is on like the website, because like I said, you don't need to put in maybe the handbook, like, I don't know, every breakdown of every abuse that is, right? Like, I think Coventry had that.
Or they
But I
can-
think you need it on like,
they
you need it on a whole policy, does that, you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say?
Mhm.
You have Glastonbury's handbook.
It's in there,
It's-
so you know what?
it's here,
It's
yeah, like
all
those
in
this-
this report,
like,
in appendix
you know,
R.
Yeah,
all in
so it's like,
appendix R.
I was like reading this and I was like, this is a lot,
I started.
but it's like, it's needed. Like, they're saying this is how much it's broken down, but like, I don't know, like, what goes into a handbook. Or what goes into, like, is it like summarized and then saying C policy,
In a handbook, everything is spelled out.
yeah,
You don't chance it, go see policy or anything
Yeah.
like that.
yeah,
You
so
know,
then we're gonna have to, then a lot of stuff is gonna have to be.
So here's the
beefed up,
thing,
yeah.
I think you can make off the policies a PowerPoint, right? I think that's the logical thing. So I think when you're talking about making things, because can you get too buried in the policy where people, you also don't wanna get to the point where people are just checking boxes. Yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to not have that where
Mm.
the big picture items are covered, and like I said, UConn did a great example of it where,
Mhm.
like they made it very clear, like, hey, here's the big points. Like you can't be one-on-one with the kids,
Mhm.
unless there was a major, there's like some type of emergency or, coverage with cameras, things along that nature. So I think that's important too, because a lot of these junior councils they're not gonna read the, 5-page policy.
They should.
Yeah, they
Right?
should, but honestly, I mean,
And it is
you know.
recommended
You're
that they
right.
read it. You could give them the bullet.
You're right. How many
points,
times
You're right, but this is the reality of it. I mean, honestly, I know,
But
I
you
know,
have them sign a form that they officially read it.
right, but that's
Because
what,
you-
my point is, you
Yeah.
do want to have, like, hey, here's the Cliff Note version of what you really need to take from this.
Companies,
Yeah.
we give,
Yeah.
Because
human resource gives the highlights, but then.
here it is, you're signing
Read
them
it
up
and
for
sign
it, but then you also don't want to ever get to the
Well-
point where, well, it was so complex, I didn't understand it.
But remember, there's like, and this is what we have to think about, like, I sign off on a handbook for work, so does, like, for at Amity, and so do the teachers and staff do, and then like parents do and students do. But you still have every single policy and procedure online, but it's not everything. It's tailored specific, like, like a student handbook wouldn't have the hiring procedures and stuff in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be in there, so it does become a little like, like of tailored to specific things.
You have to tailor to
Yeah.
the audience.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
the reader, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do agree with Dave, like, how many times I've signed off on those and I haven't read every single thing of
But
it.
the
I
thing-
refer to it, but I have a
But the
copy of
thing
it.
is, if
So,
something
yeah.
happens and your signature is on that, you can't come back and claim, oh, I didn't read it or anything.
Oh, no,
You're
you're getting training, you have to get like OSHA training, you have to get,
Yes.
you have to get DCF training, you have to get sexual harassment, all that stuff. No, I'm not saying that, but like, you're not, the odds of somebody sometimes reading through every single line of it without having somebody give you like the Cliff Notes, like, listen, I know Title IX, I know Title IX, I know Title IX in and out. I can tell you that nobody else really
Yeah.
knows the Title IX policy, like, out, right? That's what
Yeah.
my role is for, right?
But,
So,
but like at Lockheed
yeah,
Martin, right?
yeah,
When
yeah,
you're hired.
Yeah.
You sit in a room with
Yeah.
other hires for 8
Yeah.
hours.
yeah,
They give you your book.
Yeah.
They give you the high points.
yeah,
Right? When
Yeah.
you finish, when you feel that you finished
Yeah.
reading the book and you could turn it in, you have like 7 days to turn in the form that you signed it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Let's say something, you bring in a camera to work and that's, or drugs or
Yeah.
guns,
yeah,
right? And you didn't read the book, but you did sign it, they could fire you.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they'll
no,
fire
of course,
you.
no, as far as
That's
that
what I'm
goes,
saying
which
is
means
that-
like, we do need to think about like policies or like for the, like, I'm sure you already did that, like the cell phone policy for staff, cause that was a
Yeah.
huge complaint that parents
That
had to
was
see.
Question on my interview.
I was, yeah,
Well,
right,
what's
like,
that?
yeah, stuff,
One question on interview,
stuff
how do you
up.
feel about the no cell phone policy?
Okay, yeah,
because that was a huge complaint that
Yeah.
parents were coming back and saying is that staff are always on like their phones,
Yes.
right?
I heard that too, they
So-
outside with the
Yeah.
kids and they're on their
Yeah.
phone.
Can I just move us to the second bullet
Mhm.
point here?
Yeah.
Personal.
Policies, so,
Yeah,
I mean, and again, I think all of these, I just wanna make sure we're looking at these together. It sounds like we all
Yeah.
looked at them separately too, but again, this is something that I think Nicole will hash out
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
spell out
Yeah.
and give back to us for feedback and review. But in that, so we've talked a lot about supervision of children, the
Mhm.
policies involving supervision of children.
Mhm.
Personnel policies, I think we obviously, since day one of this commission have talked about mandatory background checks. We've done that for hoops.
Mhm.
Identifying the qualifications for supervisors and counselors, we've talked a little bit about that. I know you're articulating that in writing. Hiring and disciplinary practices, it's that
Mm.
piece that I think is something else that, I mean, I oversee a union environment, so that's like crucial. This is not the same as that. I'm not advocating that,
Oh,
you have to have
at-will
a sort of
employees.
contract, but like thinking ahead about
Mhm.
how you and anyone else who might have supervision rights over the staff, the counselors, what are the agreements about, do I give a warning? Anything to make
Mhm.
it, to make sure that there's progressive discipline and a standard policy. so
Yeah,
that it's not
has
favorites
the town, has Jen provided you with anything in that area? So that would be a good like human resources, like conversation to have, because like the one thing I guess we did, people did talk about in here is like that at-will employee,
Yes.
piece of things, but I think that is a huge part that you need to like
Yeah, Mike and I
know
discussed it.
where that falls and what that looks like, and then it has to be like, yeah, it's definitely part of the staff handbook too, so that
But
they
like,
know.
I'm thinking
And what is
just-
it, yeah,
you know, not necessarily HR for the
Yeah.
town, but within your department, do you
Right.
have regular check-ins with staff? Do you have, you know, do you give
Right.
feedback once a year? Do you do it more often than that? Do you know?
There'll be evaluation.
Yeah, I feel like there's, yeah,
Secondarily, that I want to piggyback on, and I want to kind of officially make sure it's clear.
putting it in place.
Because it kind of came out in here, there was a lot of confusion as far as within the department, you know. Did the former director have authorization to fire somebody? I think clearly based on this. You don't have to wait and ask for permission from 9 million people to see if you could fire somebody.
Yeah.
If it's needed,
My kids came home
Do
from
it.
camp one day and said that they had watched Anthony Cofrancesco fire someone, so I don't think that that was an issue before.
Mhm.
it
And
sounded
he
like
should
it
have
kind
never
of,
done that in public either. Not in front of kids, that's one-on-one.
but I mean, it
Yeah,
sounded.
I mean, it sounded like.
But
he was
it,
doing
at,
something
but at
wrong
will
at
does
that
sound like
But-
you
but
could
my-
just do
Yeah,
that,
but
yeah.
you don't,
And
no.
absolutely, I agree,
But
but
getting back to the point, that
Yeah,
sounds
that
like that,
kind of stuff is scary.
there sounds like there was disagreement between the park and rec director from before, you know, with, you know, obviously with the first selectman. And, you know, you don't need permission to do it. So I think when it comes down to it, if there was ever, I want to make that very clear
Yeah, I
that
agree.
you don't have to go up the chain, you don't have to come to us if it's
right, but
needed.
then, but all the more reason why ethically, then you need to have these are the
Right, I think
expectations
that's-
of my staff and this is. what
Correct,
will
but I
do.
mean,
Are we 100%, I have to ask this though, are we 100% sure that she can? But, because any organization I've worked in, when it's been the director, there is somebody that it has to go to, even if it, because like, I'm
Human
talking not
resource.
union, I'm talking at will, there is somebody that has to help help navigate that.
Yes,
So like, I do worry that she can't, well, she can just, like, she, you know, she can make that recommendation to fire somebody. I also don't want her to just be like, oh my God, like, I'm firing somebody today, and then getting like a lawsuit or something like that, because, you
but I
know,
mean, honestly,
yeah,
And
Yeah.
ACC, it was with HR.
right,
Exactly.
right, so that's.
so then if you go to the
Yeah,
HR,
you
there,
have to
however you
be
wanna do it, but my
Yeah.
point is, we can't have like 9 million, because that's obviously. what's
No.
over here, right?
No,
You know, this
no.
whole report was the occurrence because the person wasn't terminated, is what we're saying, so. If that's the route we're going based off of on this.
yeah,
We need to stick to, because if we're saying, well, they're at will, there was no reason that we couldn't terminate them. Cause that's what's throughout this report, I mean,
Well, that's why, and that's good.
so
we
I
have an
mean, if
HR
that's,
person that
if
should
that's the
be-
point.
I hope
then-
Jen has that from the attorney, you know what I mean,
You know,
like,
yeah.
But I mean, it's saying it here, so if
Yeah.
that's the case, then I wanna make sure we're not getting back into. Well, you know, this one said not to, this one
But I
said
think-
to.
with Emily's question too, I do think there's certain things that probably, you know, have to be put into place, like, so it does come down to, like, if there is another DCF report that comes in on a counselor, is it on, like, and again,
Automatic suspension.
is it automatic suspension, automatic firing, what, you know, definitely, it's
At the
definitely, I
minimum,
mean, it's definitely automatic suspension,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The minute like that happens, right? And then obviously it's like HR attorney call too, right? Like, but yeah, I think that's a piece too that that needs to clearly be in there. Like if there's, you know, like a violation of, like, I don't know, drugs, DCF report, like something like that.
Well, I think even if it's witnessed, you know, if there's a witness to something, you know, and there's any potential, then coming from where we've been at.
Mhm.
At least at the minimum, get them, you know, off the grounds and
Yeah.
they suspended.
Mhm.
You know, and then we can hash it out after that.
Yeah.
But that's clearly what this is all for. So let's not, you know, dilly dally with it. Get it done, and it was all over this, that they're at will, so it doesn't matter, you have no protections.
I think Vin needs to draft a policy on that for the entire town.
I agree with you,
But,
I think that'd be
and that
great.
it needs to be put in there, because I don't want Nicole writing that, you know, that policy, but I do think that I 100% agree that it needs to be a policy put in there that
Right.
people understand that.
Yeah, I look at as Nicole having the authority to make the decision. Where
Mhm.
human resources there to ensure there's no violations during the process. Right, that they're witnessing this, you know, as you said, I mean, even Lockheed Martin, there's always a
Yeah.
human resource
Yeah,
fair
director.
enough.
just
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
To the director,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, so.
So I mean, I just wanted to say that I brought this up mostly about quality, not necessarily egregious violations, right? Like, I
Oh, no,
think that
yeah.
we as a program have to write just basic, this is how we continue to give feedback to make sure these people are
Mhm.
doing
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
good job.
And you
So
said you
there's
do
a
that
basic
anyway.
feedback, not having to do with disciplinary, it's a basic it's the what is the evaluation process?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lockheed
And
Martin
then,
had
and then
twice
going
a
into the
year.
disciplinary.
Or
piece.
have, I mean, I think of discipline and progressive discipline also just in terms of somebody has their cell phone out in violation of the cell phone
Yeah.
policy. You,
Correct.
the first time you're like, hey,
Yeah,
please put
yeah,
that away,
yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Written.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
is your progression of, or like,
Mhm.
hey, I've told you if you. The way that you were correcting that kid was just a little bit harsh. You,
Mhm.
in general, you know, like, I'm not talking about big things,
Oh.
but over time, you have staff who continually are too harsh with the kids
Yeah.
or whatever else. And at that point, then you want to give them
Mhm.
some discipline
Yeah.
or some whatever. But what have you done ahead of time and how do you, and I think programs need to articulate what the expectations are, how we communicate what those expectations are and how we give people feedback and whether
Yeah,
they're
I
meeting
know
it.
at Lockheed Martin, they had discuss. Training,
Yeah,
Mhm.
retraining or
Mhm.
training.
right,
Yeah.
retraining,
Mhm.
then written warning, and then dismissal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they were given those
Yeah.
four
Yeah,
levels.
but I do, and I think there's the evaluation piece, right, too, that I think within the first 30 days of hire.
Mm.
Usually it's 90, but I think in these situations it should be 30,
Yeah.
you know,
And Lockheed Martin also did a mid-year check-in,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would sit with the director and they would say, okay, so how do you think you're doing? And
Yeah.
here's my
Yeah.
feedback. So that at the end of the year, when you
Yeah.
go through your evaluation, there's no surprises.
yeah, that's what we do
Yeah.
for teachers.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's
then,
a
and
mid-year
it's good
evaluation,
because someone won't sit there at the end of the year
Yeah.
and say, well, you never
Yeah.
told me this.
yeah,
So it's a nice mid-year
Yeah.
check in.
In my experience, people still will, but you've got
No, no, but-
documented that
No.
you talked to them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the ones that are the problem are the ones that always say
Yeah,
that.
that's.
Yeah.
It's the ones you
It's always the hardest ones that are the most draining ones, the ones who are the
Oh, I
problem, it's
didn't hear
never the
that.
easy ones, oh, never.
Yeah.
No, but I think those are two good points to like,
Mhm.
put into there as well. And then we're just what we've done, clearly just outlining what these mandatory background checks are that I think
Yeah.
we've outlined numerous times, but people still ask questions about those, so. The mandated reporting requirement, that's good, is what it is, the training that we're gonna do, so I think you breaking down, if it's gonna be. Is it? Is it Dave Marion that's really gonna be,
No, I mean, Dave Merriam is not gonna be doing these trainings. I mean, Dave Merriam's gonna do the
I-
background checks. I would not be relying on Dave Merriam. I mean, maybe he's got something, but like, that's not honestly a police function. It really isn't. Like, they're not
right,
gonna
that's,
provide,
so.
they're not gonna provide you like what this should be. So again, me personally, I just say have everybody go to the DCF site. I mean, you get the thing, if we could get DCF in, I think that's fantastic. That'd be nice. But, is that gonna necessarily be feasible thing where if you have the piece of paper from DCF site that says, hey, they've had the mandated reporter training, they've had the mandated reporter training, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who gave it. It's the
Yeah.
official. Yes, is it so interactive?
Mhm.
No, but you know what? It covers all the bases. There's no, I mean, this is from the DCF site, so I personally feel that is the
Mhm.
standard we should be using. If it's on the DCF site.
That for mandated reporter, we will use BCF.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you just use the website, and I mean, that covers you on the mandated reporter part. It
Mhm.
really does.
Mhm.
The thing that we had discussed, again, when I created the minor protection program, the law is 21 and over as counselors.
Mhm.
We had set it down to 18, so, then there was criticism over, well, 16-year-olds should have it. I mean, now you're getting a little.
I think anyone can have the training. It's the 21, it just
Is
means
the
that,
mandated,
right, but,
yeah.
and there's nothing we can do to change that, because what that means is like if an 18 or 19-year-old gets the training, but fails to report something, they won't be prosecuted.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the
But a
town, we
21-year-old
had
would
set a
be, yeah.
limit, and that was through the town attorney, that it was gonna be 18.
But that would attend the training?
That
We
had
have-
to get the certificate,
Oh,
that
had to
had to
get the-
log
okay.
in, they still had it in the minor protection program.
Got it.
the gist of it. But the actual people who needed the certificate, that was actually through, DCF,
Right.
and that was 18 and over.
But,
Because the law is 20.
yeah, but we documented hopefully documented somehow somewhere that the 16, 17-year-olds had
Yeah,
exposure to that.
so at that point, and again, this only came into
And
effect.
if we have CIT, this is like.
This came into
CIT
effect.
and how-
Made the kids
Yeah.
under 18 get mandated.
What's that?
Yeah,
At
Under
JCC,
18?
I
we
kinda
made
feel like
them
we
get
should-
Mandated
yeah.
reporter at JCC,
What, the under 18?
yeah.
Oh, then do
I
it.
feel like, I mean,
I don't think there's a
I'm
problem
feeling like,
with it.
yeah, I.
It's just, that's fine. If you wanna have the 16-year-olds or whoever's working do it, then that's fine, but
Because in
it's,
theory, they could be the ones to. And I think that that's where some of the confusion seems to have come from in the past. What people are saying is that they were young and didn't know necessarily how or who to report.
Yeah.
And again, they're young, they're still young, and I get that. But I do think you're working with children, you do need to know, like, we do need to give that kind of
Training.
training.
You're gonna be in this
Yeah.
field, you need to be equipped.
Yeah,
And 16 today is not 16 as it was 20 years
No,
ago,
good
I hate
too.
to say. You
me
know,
too.
yeah, they're very mature, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we also need to do like a policy too in regards to, like, I'm gonna put this, like say, in regards to counselors giving their phone numbers to kids.
yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if that's
So-
in there, I
so
don't know if
that
that's
was
in there.
in- that was
Yeah, but
in
I don't know if
there.
that's in there or not.
That
so
was in the
just-
minor protections.
Yeah,
Again,
but
there's
again-
difference that was in there to that was not acceptable.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much that like worked. If the parents want to know if the kid can babysit, the parent can reach out to the kid, like the parent can reach out to the kid directly and see if they're able to like babysit, and that is their
Right.
choice. So I also think, I also question or wonder, just putting it out there because of the babysitting question. Do we have to put something in our parent, or have we already, and this is maybe a question for Vin. If you choose to hire a counselor to babysit your child, that is like, I don't know how you would say it, but like,
It's unaffiliated.
Right.
right, do we
Yeah.
do, but is, because I feel like there were some certain codes that I had to follow when I worked in like camps and childcare, but like, we weren't allowed to do that, like, we weren't allowed to do that.
On a,
Oh, you're saying,
being off hours on a personal, you weren't.
We were not allowed to, just like
Be a
it
babysitter?
kind of looks frowned upon too, sometimes if a teacher is tutoring a student, like, right, in certain places, like, you're not allowed to. I'm not saying that that's what we are saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is there something that we talk to the attorney about, like, if you are choosing to have a counselor, former counselor that from the future, like a year from now, like,
Yeah.
but even ones that we've done a background check on, if you are choosing, if we're not helping to navigate that.
I like that idea. just
Yeah.
send the parent
Yeah.
code of
Yeah, the
conduct or
parent,
something.
yeah.
I didn't put that in the parent, yeah,
Yeah.
cause I mean, I don't think we should restrict. If I'm the
It's
parent.
not restricting it,
right.
no, it's
But I
not
like what you're
restricting,
saying.
but
What
like,
you're saying,
hey, Dave, if you hire,
yeah, we have no involvement.
like, that's, you're vetting and you're letting them into your home, like,
Right,
and work, they've been, and fine, but like, we're not giving a, like,
correct.
Yeah, it's unaffiliated.
yeah.
We are not involved in what
Right.
you decide after hours.
right,
We won't give any recommendations, something
No.
along that line. We're not giving you recommendations,
Right. right.
apparently that was a
Yeah.
piece of things, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
we're
I just
not,
wanna-
we're not approving anything, so,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I like that, I think that's a very good. And so I think the parent
Yeah,
handbook that should go.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
I believe, one parent mentioned that meeting, right? Oh, they also babysit children.
Yeah.
Like this guy here, and it's like,
yeah. Yeah, so I think we have to say
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
we're not,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're not,
um,
we're not
we're
that,
saying that they're safe here. If you choose outside of here, and that's how sometimes people find babysitters, don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but,
yeah, it's not our responsibility.
yeah.
Appendix R also has a one-on-one interaction example. Appendix R, one-on-one interaction.
Oh, how to-
Yeah, for the policies. Appendix R,
Yeah, but there was like, weren't there a bunch of, which
There
one is
was a
it?
yeah,
lot.
there's a few
There's
of
a
them.
bunch in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
one
it's
on
called
one, no
one-on-one
time or unrelated
interaction.
applicable adult permitted to be
Yeah.
alone with a minor or minor staff in a bathroom, locker room,
Yeah.
or changing area, except under emergency circuit. So there it is, like, if the organization is using
So
facility
You
that.
gotta have a guideline right from
Yeah.
them.
Regular and random monitoring of
Yeah.
bathrooms, locker rooms, and our changing areas must be performed to ensure compliance with this policy. Bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing areas must be monitored by use of the following methods: conducting a sweep of the locker room changing area before participants arrive. Posting staff directly outside the bathroom, locker room, changing area during periods of use. Legal guardians are discouraged. This happened at other times, but legal guardians are discouraged from entering bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing areas. If a legal guardian does enter a locker room or changing area, it must be a same-sex legal guardian, should notify coach or administrator. I mean, I think this is like a coaching policy.
Yeah. that's more-
But no, but there is a point to this where if what happens if the person who's picking the kid up is like, oh, I have to go, like, I'm going to the bathroom with them.
Huh? Well, why would they be?
With their own child.
Well, what if it's not their child? Like, what if they're like
Different sex.
aunt or uncle or like, I'm not saying it has, like, so there is.
It's kind of weird for local to go take a little girl to.
I can't explain why I'm saying that, but,
That's not permissible.
Yeah.
right, so
yeah.
I'll explain why, like. Outside.
So you
my-
asked one of the female
Gotcha.
counselors, hey, can you give me a hand before we leave? She needs to go to.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily gonna happen, but we did have a parent too that asked you not for bathroom purposes, but like, oh, is this an open door policy? I'm like, and it's like, Nicole's like, well, there's gonna be a buzzer on, like, on the door, you have to like buzz in or out, but it also brought up like, parents just like, are there going to be parents who just wanna come in at any point? in
Oh,
time?
but that won't be allowed. I mean, you mean.
Well,
talking
I
about
think,
the day?
but I think,
Yeah.
but I think that has to be in a policy of like, there has to be like a rate, like, it's like, I think there's going to be parents who wanna be like, can I just come in and like, can I pop in at any time to see
No,
what's
that's
going?
disruptive.
Right, so
It's like dropping in at school.
Right,
Right.
right, but I
Yeah.
do think,
I can't just go check like, hey,
right.
I wanna see what my son's learning today. I'm gonna.
But I did overhear that, and part of me was like, oh, like, that is something to be like, if if you wanna come in and for like, if you wanna come in for a,
Do you want to
Or
volunteer
like-
your time?
or volunteer.
Yeah, hey, you have your volunteer counselor? Like, yeah.
Get fingerprinted, background check.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right,
Right.
yes.
No, but
Over
it,
10 hours.
No, because you walk in.
No, and
walk in
honestly, I
for
think,
years.
Yeah.
but I think that would
yeah.
be I think that would be
So
the
there you go.
fallback too,
But like-
is that parents wouldn't be allowed unless they'd have to go through the whole background check
Right,
process.
because there's other children in the area
Right.
too.
So you
Not
might
only
wanna
that.
check up on your kid, but, I think that's gonna be,
so it might be something that we try to figure out how that's.
put that in the
put in
parent.
Yeah. I don't know how you-
Observation is
Yeah.
unpermitted. Right, because that's what they're
I
going
mean,
in.
I would probably word it something about, you got to schedule if you're gonna.
Yeah,
come by, or, by.
contact the director.
Yeah, like you'd have to be
Parents coming
supervised by the
Yeah.
director or the.
Maybe on
Yeah.
directors if-
Cause my fear is if we don't put that in, there could be parents who are like, I'm.
Just show up.
I'm popping in anytime, and like, listen, I could never go to Surrey and just like pop in,
No, that's
Cheryl
right.
would be like, what do you, like,
Yeah, right.
like,
right.
Disruptive.
Yeah,
And then plus you have some kids, I mean, it's like kindergarten for the first day, they end up crying, right?
Yeah.
And the parent
yeah,
keeps
Yeah.
going in the classroom, but you're like, that's up
Yeah.
right?
yeah, just things that we don't think about that are good to
Yeah,
have,
very valid point, that's good.
yep.
But I like that, individual programs or training sessions too, there has to be an adult observing,
Mhm.
so that's good.
So we're to reporting requirements, we talked about that. Implementation of meaningful and specific codes of conduct for staff. I mean,
Yep.
we've been talking about that at
Safety
length,
training,
I think. Safety training is the big one, so, again, this is my thing, cause I'm also a CPR and an ACLS instructor, so CPR training, you have that done through the fire department, is that it? Okay. And then as far as the water safety practices,
They do,
I really think that's only assuming we go back to the lake, but.
I asked Brent that they don't do that, the
What's
water
that?
safety practices,
The fire department does
Right.
not.
yeah.
How did you guys
They
do?
said that they've had to like, I don't know if that's like a life, like, is that a lifeguard?
Yeah, I'll
piece?
see.
I don't know what that is.
So it was all,
Yeah.
it was just all the lifeguard training stuff?
That's what I would assume. I think this really,
Can I make
Sorry, I
one,
cut you off.
one suggestion? If we do go back to Veterans Park, and this might seem a little weird, and I have my own thing of ponds and lakes and stuff like that, but I do think if we're going to Veterans Park, we should do kind of like, and maybe the JCC did this, Drew never went to camp there, but swim to, exactly, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that, where, and there are bracelets, and it's like, red means you have to, you can't swim and you have to stay here. Yellow means, okay, you can go in this area, and green means you have like
Yeah.
your
Might
more
did that.
seasoned
Yeah.
swim.
No,
The camp did that last year.
Did
My
they?
daughter passed it, my
Did they?
son didn't,
Yeah.
at this camp,
Did they?
Oh, nice.
I heard they.
because
did.
they were there every Friday, so.
Maybe that was new maybe that was new.
that might have been new in the
Yeah.
end. I never heard of that one.
Yeah, I was just,
It might have been
but
right
again,
at the end.
but again, there's no
I
policy
know that-
saying that, so.
Yeah, there's not. and that's
So
the
we
thing,
want,
I
we
agree
want
with
that in a
that.
policy then, because
Oh, I'm agreeing.
I am trying, I'm going to try to, someone said to talk to Cheshire
yeah,
and meet with them.
oh,
And
yeah,
I'm gonna try to meet with another town that has a lake, cause I have my own concerns
Yeah.
about it.
yeah,
And I'm not gonna put those kids in that lake until I am 100% sure that
yeah,
we have it down.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
So
I agree, I
I'm
like where you can see the
I
bottom.
mean, I'm hoping that, right now, if you ask me, I'd say it won't be till next year.
Yeah,
So I wanna make sure things are done right before.
Yeah.
So the couple of like special days that you're thinking about taking kids to Vets Park
I will have lifeguards there,
and swimming will be
swim, not,
not be allowed, okay?
yes. And fun stuff in the playground, the fields,
mhm.
Makes
bring in
sense.
some.
Maybe that's when they bring the hose from the fire, like the fire department, or
Maybe.
something, you know what I mean?
Pretty cool, yeah. That'd be a lot of fun for 'em.
Licensing considers like 2 inches of water. Water state, like you have to have heightened levels of supervision if you have
Mhm.
2 inches of water.
Yeah.
So a kiddie pool or anything like that, just keep that in mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, even with the slides.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
that's-
right.
yeah,
Alright, so moving on.
yeah,
Specific unambiguous confidential mechanism for rewarding suspected abuse, so I think that's. I mean, that's kind of covered with
Yeah.
DCF, but then
Yeah.
we'd have to figure out a method of actually implementing it where.
yeah, who's gonna help navigate those, like, reports, and then where are they gonna be, where are they being stored to?
So I honestly think the simplest is if staff sees it, they would report it to Nicole directly. I mean, keep it simple, report it to the director. And that way it channels through a central person,
Mhm.
and then you would call DCF. Right, and everybody see anything else? There's no other reason, I mean, something like that shouldn't be happening frequently.
Mm-mm.
So as a result, whoever it is, and maybe that
Mhm.
should be clear in the policy, because that seemed to be the problem in the past.
Mhm.
It goes right to the director, it doesn't go
Yeah.
through the chain, it
Mhm.
goes right to you. There's no
As
other
long as
reason.
And we
that
should
doesn't
also-
slow it down, right? Like if a counselor sees something, they've got to tell somebody right away. If
Yeah.
Nicole's not there, they have to tell.
Yeah, and technically
Well,
there's,
one of us will always
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, so whoever, if in Nicole's absence, then it goes to Mike, you
And
know,
then
something
maybe
like that.
DCF, but also the selectmen should be informed at the same time. There's nothing like being deer in the headlights.
You know
oh,
what?
yeah, I mean,
But you know what, the report needs to be made, and
Yeah.
going to the selectmen should not even be a component.
no, they need to be
That-
notified after the report
after
is
the
made, they
fact
need to be
is
notified.
fine.
It should go.
But initially, it goes to DCF,
And-
there is no waiting
No.
for the selectmen.
And then also there is self-reporting, so we should include that in the policy
You
too.
need to inform
If we have to,
both them.
if we have to,
Yeah.
because sometimes you have to report for lack of
Basically,
supervision.
that's her boss.
Yeah.
The selectman is her boss.
No, they should absolutely, yeah, when a DCF report
Both
is
should
filed,
be notified.
yeah,
informed.
after the, like, after the fact,
Yeah,
there
go
it is.
to
Yeah, after the
DCF first, but
Yeah.
then make sure that the
Right.
selectman
Yeah.
is aware of it
Yeah.
ASAP.
Hey, this
Especially if
was-
it's something that, it's also something that
Kind
warrants
of
a police, yeah,
emergency.
yeah,
I would always,
Yeah.
as soon as I was done dealing
Yeah.
with it, it
Yeah.
went right to supervisor.
yeah.
Good,
One,
yeah.
one place I worked had, the place I currently work is more cautious about this, but, something called a significant incident report form that like the director or whoever's
Mm.
in charge that day fills out whenever anything significant happens, like a kid gets misplaced for 5 minutes or,
Mm.
a kid gets fed something that they're allergic to. That's one of the examples that actually happened. And that significant incident form has written on it, like, this is who has to fill it out and this is who gets a copy of it. after
Yeah,
the
like
fact.
Well, that, I mean, that, we talked about that when we were like, we were doing the initial stages of like hoops, like the incident report forms and stuff like that, so that gonna
Do you
be
have a copy of that
important.
form? There?
a great one too, like,
Yeah.
because it's talking about,
If it's already created and this, you know, is a.
you could just ask
reputable-
ChatGPT to it and it'll create it like this. I'm telling you, it's one,
Brock.
I know, I know.
I know.
I know, it's
used
wonderful.
it.
I had a good one.
It's-
Brock is the
But
king.
incident.
Rock is-
distinct
We have
from-
magic school
from
AI.
Accident, distinct from accident.
Right.
report.
Yeah,
Like, that's the important part of that form
Yeah.
in my mind, is like, this is something that somebody. in
yeah,
charge
because you
does,
should, you
whereas
should
an
know
accident
that if
report,
somebody is
a kid gets hurt and
Exactly.
whoever saw it fills that out.
Right.
And it gets reviewed by the director, but this is like, no, this is a significant thing
Yeah.
that may need to get filed or documented
I like
or
that.
reported.
Yeah,
yeah, cause you wanna know if somebody's gone missing for 5-10 minutes. You definitely wanna know that, because if the parent is gonna call you when the kid goes home and says, I was missing for like,
not only
And-
that, but where did it fail, right?
well, it also might be that we have to,
Right,
self-
you've
we
got-
also might have to self-report on ourselves.
Right.
We may have,
Right.
that may be a situation where we have to self-report on ourselves and
Yep.
call DCF on ourselves,
Yep.
Yeah,
and that happens.
it's better to
Like
be
I said,
transparent.
yeah, You have to do it, like, you have to do them a lot, like, you know, like, it happens, but I don't think it accepted as a different thing, like,
Better to be transparent.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I think those are the big,
but there's two of them we
Things,
have
eh?
addressed that are big to me also. Is a record retention and the
Yeah.
accounting fiscal.
Oh, yeah.
Controls.
yeah.
Those are two bigs because
Yeah.
we have
Well-
no history here.
Well, the good part is that that's happening now, and Leslie is like the person that's
Well-
going to, we have my rec. And so, and where's it,
Okay.
and so it's being stored,
Okay, so
There.
that's taken care of.
that my rec is supposed to be what's
Okay.
really helpful.
I think one of the issues before, though, was that there was finance, there's only so much finance can do in terms of collecting.
So that's where we have to make sure that that's in the policies too, about like, if you don't pay.
We have that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so is there anyone that has signed up for camp this year that hasn't?
I have to,
Uh-oh.
Vin sent me the list, I have to double check it.
Okay,
and it's nice because it is outlined
It
in
was
this
a person I know and.
policy.
okay, that's
So,
good,
but
yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah.
I have to definitely check.
yeah,
Oh, you
Now
know,
that
from
we-
last year's list?
yeah,
Yeah, from last year.
Right,
yeah. Cause we
Right.
did it with like hoops, like if you owed a balance, you couldn't, when
that's-
they signed up for hoops, they had to
Yeah.
like not have a balance, but. Then I think there's, I thought, I was hoping everybody was caught up, and then I think we heard like a
There's
couple
still-
months ago, there's like,
still-
yeah, still people that owed.
Yeah.
Um.
Okay.
You know, how that works, but that's gonna have to be outlined in there too.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
And if you,
the accounting piece.
I mean, for camp, maybe it's easier because it's one or two lump payment before and after care. Like my admin and myself have spent a lot of time and effort developing processes for us tracking,
Mhm.
finance tracks
Mhm.
the bills for the daycare costs, and they track what they receive from us, but in the middle, we have to do all this tracking and talking to parents and, we have to have articulated policies of like, after 2 weeks of non-payment, this
Mhm.
happens, after 4 weeks, your kid can't come for a while, things like that. I don't know that this program is complicated enough to necessarily need that, maybe my rec can cover it, but I do think
But what happens?
it's not enough to just say, oh, now that.
Cause we talked about this with like months ago, what happens if they just show up?
What, that's it, you refuse.
yeah,
Right, and so who is there,
Right.
but that's a much. Easier thing for us to sit here and say than when somebody like is in front of them and there's a kid right there, right? No, I know, like, it's a hard situation, so I think we have to have these policies, like you're saying,
Yeah.
kind of clearly in place about. Like, the nice part was like you sign up, but I will tell you, there were times that I was wondering, like, did I sign up for my rec like 2 weeks in, like, was I good? And I do think we're gonna have those parents that either do not have their lives together enough, right? Like, because they're overwhelmed and they're in a
Whatever the-
situation,
yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
might be, right? Right, yeah, exactly, like, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, there were times where I was like, did I pay all my bills at like Parks and Rec because of how billing was, but that's a whole nother thing, but like, I definitely had anxiety about my rec, like, making sure I put things in
Yeah,
at
yeah.
a time, like, at the start of the school year this year. But I do think there's a part of like, yeah, at what point is it like, is it too,
I think,
Where is it?
I hope that we have the time, to, give the parents a fair warning.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
And B,
right,
if they do show up, it's me
Right.
pulling them into the
Right.
office side
Yep.
and
Right.
saying, listen.
right. Yeah.
So the key is getting the word out now,
Mhm.
right? The basics, right? You, no more just show up policy. There's
Mhm.
we're not accepting walk-ins, no walk-ins. That's how I would, so start getting the word out. I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
the word's already
Website?
out.
Yeah, I think the no walk-ins
I
is
think the
out,
word's
yeah,
out there already,
but I do,
No, but I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
but I understand.
you know,
what you're
on the
saying.
Yeah.
website, maybe,
Yeah.
you know, no walk-ins. I mean, is there any kind of pamphlets we could distribute to the school and put in the office? And that they could keep somewhere? I mean, just so parents could grab, or, you know, is it possible to make some?
they can put it in their weekly like newsletter that they do, I would
Exactly.
think, but I think that for parents, again, it's gonna be, like, I think there's been a lot of talk about not paying, but I think there's always gonna be somebody, who's maybe not maliciously gonna do it, there may be
No,
people that are,
understood.
but there are people that aren't, and I think we put in there something about, try, like, if you are in a situation that you can't financially afford it, there are options for you to, meet with Nicole directly in regards to that, to discuss potential options.
Yeah,
But I do agree with what Emily's saying, that we definitely wanna put that in, kind of that in there, and then in place in regards to like payment, like, yeah, if nothing has, been arranged, because that amount can add up so
Sure.
quickly,
Yeah.
and
especially if you have 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah. yeah,
Mhm.
so I think that's definitely has to be clearly
Yeah.
put in there with that.
Similar what you did to the summer camp. That was very well written. Payment must be received prior to start of camp.
Yeah.
I love
The
it.
week before.
Mm,
Exactly,
But I think, that's good and helps, right? Like, so,
but it's just getting the word out and
Right.
mhm.
throwing
And let me
it,
ask you,
throwing
did you
it at
get an
them.
email from me about camp, either?
No.
Cause I sent the email through my rec, and I'm not sure if anyone
Oh.
even got it,
I did not.
so I'm gonna do a test.
Oh,
Yeah, do it.
I might
Yeah.
just send it to like you
Yeah.
guys, just to test them
Yeah.
if they get it.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
not on that. My days are over,
And
but
you,
not really, you ain't never worry
Yeah.
stop worrying about your kid.
Can I ask about personnel files?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jen's keeping all of those,
Good.
okay,
and I get everything that we need, put it in a folder with their names, and I give it right to Jen,
perfect,
and Jen showed me where they are.
okay.
And
So in a
anything
sense-
you need to add into there, you just will give to
Yeah, no,
Jen.
I have, so what I did is I created an Excel spreadsheet of what they need, and I check
Uh-huh.
off what they,
Okay.
Nice.
Good.
Okay.
Okay,
or what they did, or what they handed in, so
Yeah,
I know what
good.
is owed.
Yeah,
And that includes the mandated reported training,
Mhm.
the EpiPen, the
Mhm.
first aid, all that is on there. Even the college campus, I put the training, I put that on.
All their
Okay.
trainings, okay.
excellent.
But will you have, in your office, somewhere to track that as they get more trainings throughout the year, or it'll all go to Jen? She'll have the master.
I'm probably gonna I wanna talk to her because I said I wanted to have an extra copy in my office,
Mhm.
just so I have.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And then, like emergency contact forms for all staff.
Yeah.
You'll have that in your office too. I'm sure it has to go in the personnel.
they have it in my rec, so it's accessible to you there, like if there's ever
For
an
the
emergency.
kids.
But
Staff
is
too?
there a way to put staff in there? Like, I'm thinking, like, so we have Raptor for for Amity, so like if there's ever like a lockdown or like a fire or anything like that, like that's how you
And I
pull
could
like the
just-
roster and
yeah.
stuff. And that's how you account for like yourself and stuff like that too. I'm wondering if like my rec has something where it's like, if if you had to,
Double check on that.
yeah,
That's a
so you
great-
have those centrally, cause you definitely then
Yeah,
not
cause
to,
if you don't, if there's a
Yeah.
fire here and you can't.
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
files,
yeah,
Mhm.
Great idea.
yeah. Cause yeah, the emergency forms for staff are important too. Anything,
Alright.
So if not, I could maybe do it on the OneDrive too, so I,
Yeah, see how that.
I already did it on OneDrive. so
Yeah.
now I can access it on.
Yeah. It'd be nice if like, they could pull it up on like my rec like that, you know?
Well, sounds like a lot of these items are being already addressed, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's how I read it.
yeah, I think that's all the work that everybody has like started and like
Yeah.
been doing and continued with Nicole, right? It's just making sure that it stays on the track that
we
it's
hit all
going
these,
to,
yeah.
and then we hit everything, you know?
Tracked and.
But I think whatever, I think what the town has to understand too is like, this is a fluid process, right? Like, sometimes we're not gonna know things that we don't know until, you know.
Come across it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I think it's good because now we at least are starting from somewhere. In the past, there was nothing to amend because
Right,
there was nothing there. But the
right.
fact that we have things in place to me is
Huge.
a big improvement. If it's, if it isn't 100% and we make it to 100% eventually, that's all we could really ask for.
That's how we identify Lockheed Martin, the unknown unknowns.
Mhm.
Those are the risks you cannot identify until you come across it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you don't know until you.
Exactly.
When you saw it all, there's always something.
And they become lesson learned.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, I
Yeah.
think we're in a good place with
Oh,
that.
I think we're in a great place because. Looking at the report and the
Yeah.
recommendations, a lot of it has already been,
Yeah, it's nice.
started, so.
Right. No, it absolutely has. Any other discussion as far as this goes for the report? I think we sufficiently covered everything.
I think
I think
so.
we did, but I just want to make sure everybody else is on the same page.
Yeah.
I think we did, yeah.
Amy?
Let's see, so I guess number 8, we'll move on, which is now, number 9, discussion of the new commission member. I haven't seen anything, so.
Oh, Jen sent an
two.
email. There were two people.
Oh, I
Okay,
think you're
well,
right, yeah, yep.
But the second one was just like
I know, I wish we
asking for
had,
information.
yeah. I wish we had like their resume, like we don't, it's just a letter.
Yeah, exactly, I don't,
Did
no one receive that?
I met
So-
with one of them.
You did.
you?
One of them says,
How was that? How's that?
I'm a resident of Bethany and a retired physical education and
That's
adaptive
doing
physical
that.
education
Okay.
teacher, 42 years of experience. I've coached tennis, swimming, and field hockey. I'd be interested in finding out more
Okay,
about the volunteer position. So
She's very interested in it.
she understands what it is though, because, okay.
I like that.
She said she
no
met with
offense
her,
to
I think.
anyone, but that she's retired too.
Mhm.
So during the day.
We need someone to be working 24/7 for this commission.
Look, it's still,
Pat by.
exactly, cause I'm retired, so
She's a
whatever.
rock star. She got plants. She made that front look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
she was in.
I mean,
not cleaning
so it's like
the
what- When Jen told me that, she said, well, she's retired, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. No.
Okay,
And the second person?
the other one.
I think she was a,
Whom it may concern, I have been a resident of Bethany for 27 years. Registered Democrat, both of my kids went through Parks and Rec for the after-school program, summer camp, and then as camp counselors. I believe that it is an important service the town provides for working families. I also think that the program could be expanded to add more value and to encourage participation from more than just working families. Bethany is a great community that can be even better. I was a member of the PTO when my kids were in elementary school, and I had a great time helping to plan and execute events where families came together to have fun and build the community. I was co-chair for the fundraiser auction to improve the BCS playground, where we raised a lot of money. Even though that was many years ago, I believe my experience would be valuable to the Park and Rec Commission position. I also had my own business for a while.
Executive meeting for this or no?
Well, I'm intentionally not saying this person's
Okay.
name.
Yeah, I think someone's gonna say the name, it's
Okay.
fine.
I also had my own business for a while where I used my skills to get stuff done, to problem solve, and to bring new ideas to fruition. I enjoy being part of a group where I can help the greater good. The new director sounds like a great addition who can bring more programs to the town, and I would like to be a part of that. I want to help give back to my community where I live and where my kids grew up. Let me know if you have any questions or need more information from me.
Okay, and the first one is a former educator
Mhm.
and
Physical education.
Yeah, Pete.
physical
Mhm.
education.
Mhm. Yeah.
Did you say you met with both?
Not just one.
Mhm.
Which one did you meet with?
Physical
The
education.
first one?
Mhm.
What was your opinion?
She was very nice.
Okay,
They both sound great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They both
Yeah.
sound
Me
great.
too.
I mean, so I didn't know that, and so out of these two, it just seemed
I-
like the
yeah.
first one, this one
the
I
le-
just
the one that
read,
had the more in-depth letter, yeah.
had a more in-depth understanding of what the commission is
Yeah.
and has been following what we've been doing, so I
Yeah.
was leaning towards that, but I didn't.
But
It
I-
also seemed like the other person, I just wasn't even sure that they knew what they were
Right.
getting.
So the fact that
volunteering for, yeah.
they took the time to meet with you and it was a positive discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I don't know how you choose, obviously, this is the first. time.
Yeah, and this is a first for us to actually
Yeah.
point, because
Do you
normally
even
it's the
keep
select.
or
It,
People off of
we
what?
generally, I mean, I don't think it's
No.
really,
well, we just handed our resumes in.
and it
and we
was,
were
I didn't send a
selected.
resume,
Oh,
I sent a
I
letter
sent-
just like
Wait,
that.
Oh.
I come up with
Oh,
a
I sent a-
procedure for that.
I sent a resume in. I sent my resume in the
I
letter.
sent a letter and resume.
Yeah. Cause I was updating it and I was like, oh my goodness.
But I was
ChatGPT.
sending you someone who,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
No, but
Well,
that's what I was told to
It is.
like do a letter and put my resume into it.
yeah, but this is the same thing, this is for somebody who's default.
yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So,
I know, but I didn't realize we just asked for like a letter and not a, like,
Yeah,
cause
just
I think
said
everything
letter.
would have gone together like nicely. Cause I do think the first one's letter is nice, but I think there's pieces that were like kinda like we're missing. I think it doesn't seem like we would go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
To be.
And I
to be
don't want
honest.
us to overthink it.
Yeah,
No.
And
yeah.
I think the first one submitted on May 5th and the second one did on May 9th, so.
Good, both.
I think one of the things too,
Yeah.
though, I mean, we're reviewing them. I mean, I don't know what the process is here. I think it's gotta be, it's the selectmen who are gonna appoint the person anyway. I don't think we.
Yeah,
get to
I mean,
appoint
that's
them,
what it
so,
says, and that's,
I mean, I don't really, I guess we would
But
report
we
to the
could give a
selectmen who we
recommendation,
think,
no?
yeah, I guess.
what we decided was that we'd ask for
Yeah, make a
people
recommendation.
to send in letters, and then we would look at them together and decide which one to recommend to the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, the members of this commission.
I think there's
appointed
only
by the
two,
first
maybe we just
selectmen.
send them to them and say, hey,
We're fine with
we're
either
fine
one.
with either one. You
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
you make the choice, cause
I
there's
think
only
that's
two,
fair. There's
you know.
two, just send them both there.
yeah,
You have a preference, one over the other?
They
No.
both sound great.
yeah.
Okay,
I didn't,
Yeah.
the first one, but our letters.
okay. That's.
Yeah,
Let them
You know,
choose.
I don't know what the first one's background is, like, if we were looking for someone like a retired PE background, I mean, that's nice, you know, so it's gonna, like, we have there's
But
our
he's-
teacher.
Which was the one that
Considered
talked about
PE, but you said an
fundraising.
educator, I don't see a PE as an educator.
It's a physical education certified teacher, that is
Some
a
people would
teacher.
take offense to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my husband's uncle's a retired PE teacher, oh,
Oh, is he?
yeah, he was at, and the
Oh,
coach of
sorry.
Camden for years, he's at.
I grew up, we had our PE and we had our educators.
Oh, boy, you just made some enemies now.
Especially if.
Good job,
PE
Pat. Now,
comes
now,
on
now
board.
people are gonna be
Listen, PE's
pounding on
pretty
your
intensive,
door.
Amity.
What's that?
There's finals and everything,
That's true.
midterms
serious?
and yeah,
Oh,
and
For
tests
PE?
and quizzes, yep,
Wow.
Oh my
changed a lot
goodness.
since he came to the high days.
Even at
Wow.
Central University it was, I had to take.
I had to take
Or
gym
my-
at Southern too, like.
That's
well,
you did?
Take
Yes,
badminton,
you didn't have to?
tennis.
I had,
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
think-
I forget what it was, but yeah, we were in the weight room, yeah, we had to take PE.
Oh, yes, me too.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at
college?
the
Yes,
instructor,
in
like,
college, I'm like, I'm
"Wait a
paying for
minute,
this,
and
yeah,
here's
that's the
this
whole
kid,
nother,
19 years old,
Yeah.
tennis, whacking
Yeah.
it, and I'm standing there going, okay,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
it gave me an A.
Yeah, right.
So I have a
so
question,
let's
is
just leave-
the first one had, so there's the PE teacher.
Yeah,
Or there's the one who has done, fundraising and events.
yeah,
I think it does make sense. We could say, okay, Board of Selectmen, we've reviewed both, they both seem fine. Could you please appoint one
Yeah.
of these people?
Yeah.
We could give them that choice.
Yes.
I think it gives them,
I think-
they give them the power to make.
Now, here's my question.
Uh-oh.
Technically, the first selectman appoints the next person.
Right,
I don't think, and this is nothing against Paula, I don't think it makes sense to have a first selectman who has about a week left in her time.
Yeah,
She
but
won't
she
be.
did, but she,
There's
remember
gonna
when
be
we were
a
appointed,
committee.
it was Bob and Gina, when we were appointed. I think that we send, their meeting is the 3rd,
I say,
June 3rd is their meeting.
Yeah.
We bring it to them and say, you guys do it because
get it.
There's
done
gonna be.
the two of them
interim-
could decide,
there's
she's not
be
gonna
an
decide
interim
anyway.
select.
Yeah,
So once that's decided,
Yeah.
that person can.
Let's-
Yeah.
Right, but this is before that. So-
because you have to,
I mean,
it's
we-
like,
When is Jen returning?
Jen, Gail?
Yeah,
Oh, she was just at it. She was just at a work meeting
okay,
today.
because she's the chairperson.
I think we
So
just,
she should forward it to the Board of Selectmen and say,
right.
choose one ASAP.
Well, you see, what
Well,
they,
we
no, they
already
appoint,
said
no,
that.
they appoint, just so you guys know,
Oh,
because my
wait.
husband just got appointed onto the economic development.
Right,
They made a recommendation for him to go on to it, and he had to be appointed at the selectmen meeting
Yeah.
by them.
Okay.
So I think we send it
That's-
over,
We talked about it at our
yeah,
last
to the
meeting,
two of
but
them,
that's
and they can make the decision. They
okay,
could,
so when's the next Selectmen
the
meeting?
third, I think,
Yeah,
Perfect.
whatever the
Get it
Tuesday is.
done now, ask
Okay,
them
so-
to
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
there.
I'm gonna make a motion that we
Okay.
submit
Yeah.
both of these
Yeah, submit
Park
both.
and Rec
Yeah.
Commission candidates
Yeah.
to the Board of Selectmen for them to appoint one of them.
And hopefully Jen can submit them tomorrow, so that it gives tomorrow would give, tomorrow would give
Okay.
6 days to review the 2 letters, and everyone will have enough time to review them.
Yeah, you got it, okay.
Alright, so all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. We're good.
We're good to adjourn?
Yeah, so who wants to make a motion to adjourn? So I think we're up to the last one.
Adjourn.
So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I was like, nobody wants to second it.
Alright. Any discussion? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Alright.
All right, we can sign up.
End the meeting.
End meeting, yep.
Bye-bye.
A motion.
And whoever else is on.
That's my husband.
Bye,
Is that
Dan.
your husband?
He puts it on his phone to see when.
Bye.
Bye.
Also, by the way, Southern no longer has gym as of 4 years ago.
Okay.
Isn't that great?
That's
They took my
crazy.
money and that was it.
Wow.
However, I did wish I could have taken it.
Oh.
I mean,
Ugh.
you could do it if you wanted, right? I'm sure.
All right, good night, guys.